Chapter 47-47. In the small town on the west coast, everyone on the street leading to the pier stared at the scene with their mouths agape. Hu Lai, the imperial envoy of the eternal divine dynasty, had been grabbed by the neck and lifted into the air. Everyone was dumbfounded. That was the imperial envoy. The person in charge of negotiating with the Marquis of West Sea was none other than Hu Lai himself. Hu Lai represented the eternal divine dynasty, but someone had completely disregarded the eternal divine dynasty and started to teach the imperial envoy a lesson. Don't be presumptuous. Let Lord Hu go. At this moment, under the leadership of a middle-aged general, countless warriors charged over from the other end of the street. This town on the west coast was a strategic location. It was the gateway between the West Sea and the continent, and the eternal divine dynasty had stationed an army there. This army was the famous West Sea Navy. The West Sea Navy had fought against the pirates of West Spirit Island all year round, and had rich combat experience. Tempered by war, they had become one of the few elite troops of the eternal divine dynasty. It was precisely because the West Sea Navy was stationed in this town that the pirates of West Spirit Island were wary. It was difficult for the pirates to breach the town and enter the mainland. This time, Marquis of West Sea rebelled again and launched an army of 100,000 pirates to attack the town, but they were still stopped by the West Sea Navy. After a long time of failure, the Marquis of West Sea retreated. According to tradition, the eternal divine dynasty would send the imperial envoy to West Spirit Island to negotiate with the Marquis. When the West Sea Navy stationed in the town heard that Hu Lai had been captured, Champion Hung Xiong immediately rushed over with hundreds of soldiers. When Hung Xiong saw Hu Lai being grabbed by someone and lifted into the air, he was shocked. Although Hu Lai's cultivation was not very high, he was still able to withstand it. Although Hu Lai's cultivation base was mediocre, he was still the imperial envoy of the eternal divine dynasty. If anything happened to him in his territory, he would be in trouble as well. Let the imperial envoy go, Hung Xiong shouted at Ji Yufei. Let him go. Ji Yufei looked at Hung Xiong and suddenly grinned. Catcher. He squeezed his right hand and broke Hu Lai's neck. Hu Lai's head immediately drooped. Swoosh. The space between Hu Lai's eyebrows suddenly split open, and a small figure wrapped in divine light soared into the sky, trying to escape. This was Hu Lai's primordial spirit. As a saint, Hu Lai wouldn't die so easily. As long as his primordial spirit wasn't destroyed, he would be able to recover. Ji Yufei opened his mouth and sucked, directly swallowing Hu Lai's soul. What? Everyone was shocked to the core. Who were these two people? How dare they kill the imperial envoy of the eternal divine dynasty? How audacious. The people in the small town had never seen such a lawless existence. Even the ferocious Marquis of West Sea wouldn't dare to kill an imperial envoy in public. However, Ji Yufei had no qualms about killing him. So be it. What was he afraid of? Back in the Chaos Immortal abode, even Eternal Patriarch had suffered at his hands. Now that Eternal Patriarch was dead, who in the entire Eternal Divine Dynasty could make him worry? Moreover, Ji Yufei had Wang Xian by his side. Wang Xian was in the Eternal Realm, and had even dared to snatch him from the hands of the super-antique Wu Tianheng. My lord, Hu Lai's subordinates were scared half to death by this scene. Kill him. Hung Xiong was infuriated when he saw this. He immediately led his soldiers and charged at Ji Yufei. Kill him and avenge my lord. Hu Lai's subordinates' eyes were bloodshot. They wanted nothing more than to tear Ji Yufei to pieces. You've overestimated yourself. With a wave of his hand, Ji Yufei threw Hu Lai's corpse at the charging Hung Xiong. Hung Xiong hurriedly caught Hu Lai's corpse. Just then, Ji Yufei waved his sleeve, and a gust of wind swept toward the opposite side. The West Sea Army was immediately thrown off balance by the gust of wind. Extreme Dao, an extreme Dao supreme, Hung Xiong was shocked. Hu Lai was really courting death. He was just a sage-level cultivator, yet he dared to provoke an extreme-grade sovereign. Wasn't he tired of living? Hung Xiong was only a lowly general in the West Sea Army, and he was only a half-step extreme Dao supreme. He was not an extreme Dao supreme. That would be awkward. Retreat. Hung Xiong made a prompt decision and ordered a retreat. The hundreds of West Sea soldiers quickly retreated under Hung Xiong's lead. Seeing Hung Xiong retreating, the surrounding onlookers were dumbfounded. These two people are too awesome. They even dared to fight the West Sea army. I have to give it to them. Hung Xiong is only a lowly general in the West Sea army. After defeating the lowly one, the big one jumped out. I'm afraid the higher-ups of the West Sea army are going to make a move. The onlookers discussed in low voices. There were many capable people in the West Sea army. Otherwise, how could they contend with the Marquis of West Sea on West Spirit Island? The subordinates of the Marquis of West Sea were not to be trifled with. Haha, let's go. We can use these guys' official ships at the dock. Wang Shen laughed. All right, Ji Yufei said and walked toward the dock outside the town with Wang Shen. Are these two guys crazy? How dare they have designs on the official ships? The onlookers were stunned. Killing the imperial envoy and seizing the official ships. This is too outrageous. The onlookers followed behind the two, wanting to continue watching the show. How dare you hurt the West Sea army? Die. At this moment, an angry roar came from the sky. Ji Yufei looked up and saw a figure walking in the void in the direction of the town. With just one step, this person arrived above the two of them and looked down at them. This was an old general with white hair and beard. He held a large halberd in his hand and wore battle armor. He looked majestic. Who are you? Ji Yufei frowned and said. He didn't expect this person from the West Sea army to act so quickly. Those people had just retreated, and someone immediately came forward. Moreover, this person was an extreme Dao Supreme. Kill. The old general didn't waste any time. He waved the large halberd in his hand and slashed at Ji Yufei's head. A violent extreme Dao power erupted from the halberd, and a strong wind blew in the surroundings. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere, and smoke and dust surged. However, the next scene caused everyone to be dumbstruck. They saw that Ji Yufei didn't dodge at all. The halberd slashed down fiercely on his head. Then, the halberd that could split a mountain in half was actually repelled. The old general felt as if his attack had struck a piece of immortal divine metal. He didn't even manage to cut a single hair on his opponent. Instead, his hands that were holding the halberd were numb, and the halberd almost flew out of his hands. What? Chapter 47-48. After defeating the young, the old would jump out. This seemed to be an unchanging truth. As soon as Ji Yufei defeated Hung Xiong of the West Sea army, a true extreme grade supreme immediately jumped out. This was an old general, who immediately attacked. The old general brandished the halberd in his hand and fiercely hacked at Ji Yufei's head. However, a shocking scene occurred. When the old general's halberd hacked at Ji Yufei's head, the halberd actually bounced back, causing his hands to go numb. This, Heng Zhontian's shock was no small matter. Is that all you've got? Ji Yufei grabbed the halberd and exerted force, directly snatching it from the other party's hand. You, Heng Zhontian was even more shocked. Who the hell are you? Heng Zhontian was both shocked and furious. You're not qualified to know who I am. If you know what's good for you, scram. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. Ji Yufei stared at Heng Zhontian and said coldly. Preposterous. Heng Zhontian was furious. He suddenly took out a Dao artifact and waved his right hand. A divine light wrapped around Ji Yufei. A long rope was wrapped in the divine light. The divine rope instantly wrapped around Ji Yufei. Haha, Heng Zhontian burst into laughter upon seeing this. What are you laughing at? Ji Yufei directly struggled with all his might, but he could not break free from the rope wrapped around his body. Heh, don't waste your energy. This divine rope is refined from the tendon of an ancient dragon. Even a half-step eternal expert can't break free from it. They can't tear it apart. The people who were watching the show were all shocked to see this scene. Don't celebrate too early. I haven't even used my strength yet. Ji Yufei said. What? Heng Zhontian's expression immediately turned ugly when he heard this. A long rope refined from the dragon tendon of an ancient dragon? As Ji Yufei spoke, he gradually increased his strength, and the long rope that was wrapped around his body immediately tightened. Open. Ji Fei roared as his divine power exploded. In the next moment, under Heng Zhongtian's incredulous gaze, the rope that was wrapped around Ji Fei's body suddenly snapped. Heng Zhongtian was dumbfounded. As expected, Heng Zhongtian was ruthlessly beaten up by Ji Fei. After that, he fled back to the encampment in a sorry state. Ji Fei, Wang Xian, and the others went directly to the dock outside the town, and then directly barged into the most luxurious and largest official ship. Audacious! You actually dare to barge into the Imperial Envoy's official ship? Are you tired of living? One of the generals on the official ship roared at Ji Fei and the others. Noisy. Ji Fei waved his large sleeve at the general, and then the general who was guarding the official ship was directly sent flying. No one knew where he flew to. If you don't want to die, then steer the ship for me. Ji Fei swept his gaze over the other people on the official ship. Everyone on the official ship was dumbfounded. Wang Xuani just watched from the side, not saying anything. Soon, the official ship left the dock and headed for the open sea. Want to leave? At this moment, a loud shout rang out. Then, a giant golden hand suddenly appeared in the sky. This golden hand directly fell from the sky and slammed down towards the official ship. Half-step Eternal Realm. Ji Fei directly used the extreme breaking fist and punched upwards. Rumble. The void trembled as the two powerful forces collided with each other in an instant. A muffled thunder-like sound erupted as a terrifying energy storm swept out. The surrounding sea suddenly fluctuated violently. Wang Xuani stood on the deck, stabilizing the shaking official ship. At this time, the person in the sky exclaimed. The giant golden hand falling from the sky was directly smashed apart by Ji Fei's punch. Get lost before I get angry. Ji Fei didn't put this half-step eternal guy in his eyes at all. You're courting death. A figure suddenly appeared between the sky and the earth. Then, a shocking murderous aura broke out from the person in the sky, and the temperature of the whole world dropped rapidly. Hey! Ji Fei shook his head helplessly. How could these guys be so confident and dare to fight with this father? Well, this father will beat you until you're afraid. Let's see if you dare to provoke this father again. I'll go meet him. Ji Fei glanced at Wang Xuani next to him, then rose into the sky and rushed towards the person in the sky. Come on! The man shouted. In the next moment, boundless golden light erupted from his body, turning into an earth-shattering sword chi that slashed at Ji Fei. 10,000 swords returned to origin. Ji Fei pointed his sword finger, and the countless sword lights that were slashing towards him actually madly gathered towards his sword finger. How is this possible? Seeing this scene, everyone's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. I'll return it to you. Ji Fei shouted. The next moment, under the guidance of his sword finger, countless sword lights turned back towards the person in the sky and slashed towards him. What a great 10,000 swords returned to origin. The person rushed into the sky, and at the same time, a mass of divine light enveloped him. It was the protective aura. Countless rays of sword light slashed down on that person's protective barrier. The barrier trembled violently and actually managed to block all the rays of sword light that the other party had sent back. However, he could block the sword lights, but he couldn't block Ji Fei's fist. Ji Fei's fist was like a hot knife through butter, directly piercing through the man's protective light shield and ruthlessly smashing into his chest. The sound of bones breaking rang out. The person screamed and flew for more than a dozen miles before falling into the sea. You're overestimating yourself. Ji Fei shook his head, then flew back and landed on the deck of the official ship. Not playing anymore? Wang Xuani looked at Ji Fei and smiled. How boring. Ji Fei sighed. West Spirit Island will be fun. Wang Xuani said. Is West Spirit Island really that fun? That's a pirate's lair. Ji Fei was seriously doubtful. You'll know when you get there. Wang Xuani said meaningfully. After Ji Fei defeated the half-step eternal existence, no one dared to cause trouble. Ji Fei and the others were also happy to be free. They even fished on the edge of the ship. After sailing for about 2 hours, a black dot appeared in front of them. Haha, we're almost there. Wang Xuani laughed. Is that the black dot in front? Ji Yufei asked. It was too far. No wonder. The eternal divine dynasty was too far away, so it was naturally difficult to deal with these pirates. Yeah. Wang Xuanyi nodded. West Spirit Island, I'm coming. Ji Yufei stood on the bow deck and shouted at the front, his voice spreading far and wide. Swoosh. At that moment, a huge tentacle suddenly stretched out of the sea and smashed toward the official ship. What? Ji Yufei was taken aback. Boom. With a loud noise, the official ship they were on was smashed into two by this huge tentacle. Sea Monster. Chapter 47-49. Ji Yufei and Wang Xian seized the Eternal Divine Dynasty's official ship and headed straight for West Spirit Island. However, just as West Spirit Island was in sight, a huge tentacle suddenly stretched out of the sea and smashed their official ship into two. The sailors and soldiers on the official ship all fell into the water, struggling in the water. But soon, the sailors and soldiers who were struggling in the water were dragged into the water by something and disappeared. There was no blood on the surface of the sea. A sea monster. Ji Yufei and Wang Xian were already in the air. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help being startled. The sea in Eternal World was very dangerous because the sea was larger than the land. There were countless powerful creatures in the sea. There were also many sea creatures in the Eternal Realm. Swoosh. Just then, two pitch-black tentacles rushed out of the sea below Ji Yufei and Wang Xian and entangled Ji Yufei and Wang Xian in the sky. What? Ji Yufei and Wang Xian had no choice but to dodge. An Eternal Realm creature? No way. Ji Yufei was truly surprised. This was his first time going out to sea, but he did not expect to encounter an eternal-level powerful lifeform the moment he went out to sea. Their luck was really good. Kill. Wang Xian made his move. He swooped down from the sky and plunged into the water. The next moment, the entire sea shook, setting off monstrous waves. Terrifying energy waves erupted from the sea, and mountain-like tentacles stretched out of the sea. The sea monster in the sea was much larger than the octopus monster that Ji Yufei had sucked dry in the underground world of the Crouching Dragon Lake. Rumble. The entire sea was boiling. Ji Yufei was surprised that this sea monster was so powerful. Were sea creatures so powerful? Boom. Suddenly, the sea exploded, and a figure rushed out of the sea. Swoosh. Behind Wang Xian, a black tentacle chased after him. 10,000 miles of ice. Wang Xian bellowed and turned around, pressing his palm downwards. A terrifying cold energy erupted from his right palm, and the black tentacle that was trying to wrap around him was instantly frozen. In the next moment, the entire surface of the sea was frozen. When Ji Yufei saw this scene, he could not help but be moved. Wang Xian punched out once more, and the frozen tentacle actually crumbled into pieces. Boom! The frozen sea surface suddenly shattered, and a huge black shadow rushed out of the sea. This sea monster was actually a black octopus. This octopus was even bigger than a mountain, and a terrifying fiendish aura burst out from the body of this octopus. Is he finally coming out? Wang Xian laughed out loud. In the next moment, a terrifying chilling energy erupted from his body, and the surrounding void seemed as though it was about to be frozen. The kraken was frozen in an instant. Wang Xian used the same trick, wanting to directly smash the kraken. However, before Wang Xian's palm slammed on the frozen octopus, the ice on the octopus directly shattered. At the same time, a huge tentacle fiercely whipped Wang Xian's body. Wang Xian was whipped and flew out. One blade opens the universe. Ji Yufei made his move, and his first move was a killer move. This slash of his blade was extremely overbearing. Swoosh! Wherever the saber light passed, a huge mountain-sized tentacle fell from the sky. Bluish-purple blood sprayed out and dyed the surface of the sea blue. Ji Yufei continued to attack, and the blade light was extremely sharp, leaving bloody marks on the kraken's body. Damn it! At this time, Wang Xian had already rushed back. He was shocked and angry at the same time. He flipped his right hand, and a great spear immediately appeared in his hand. Kill! Without any hesitation, Wang Xian directly threw the great spear in his hand. The great spear turned into a cold light and directly nailed the kraken to the sea. At this time, Ji Yufei raised his blade and directly broke the kraken's head, taking out a yellow bead. This bead is the size of an adult's head. An extremely powerful fluctuation of power erupted from the beast core in Ji Yufei's hand. This is the beast core of an eternal level creature. What a pure essence qi! Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he felt the powerful energy contained in the beast core, which is bigger than an adult's head. However, Ji Yufei also needs this bead to restore his cultivation base. Wang Xian knows about Ji Yufei's situation, so he is embarrassed to compete with Ji Yufei. Let's go. Wang Xian looked at the sky and said. At this time, dark clouds emerged from the horizon. A storm is coming. A large number of debris floated on the sea. The official ship has long sunk into the water and disappeared. Let's go. Ji Yufei followed Wang Xian and flew toward West Spirit Island. Although West Spirit Island is already in sight, it still took them half a day to fly to West Spirit Island. Lightning began to appear in the sky, and the faint sound of thunder could be heard. Ji Yufei and Wang Xian dared to arrive at West Spirit Island before the storm. As soon as they landed on the dock, they were immediately surrounded by a group of soldiers. Who are you? An old general clad in battle armor walked out. An extreme grade supreme? Ji Yufei's heart skipped a beat. This West Spirit Island is amazing. Even the people guarding the dock are extreme grade supreme. In fact, Ji Yufei is wrong. The people guarding the dock are other people, but West Spirit Island is currently at war with the Eternal Divine Dynasty. That is why Marquis West Sea sent an extreme grade supreme to guard the dock. It's me. Wang Xian looked at the old man. Ah, greetings, old master. The old man's face turned pale when he saw Wang Xian. He knelt on the ground and said carefully, Old master? Ji Yufei stared at Wang Xian with indescribable shock. Why are you staring at me? Haven't you seen a handsome guy before? Wang Xian said very narcissistically. I really haven't seen one before. Ji Yufei said very seriously. Scram. Wang Xian gave Ji Yufei the middle finger. Ji Yufei arrived at West Spirit Island. This island was much bigger than he had imagined. This wasn't an island at all, but rather a continent. Moreover, West Spirit Island is bustling with people. It is very prosperous. It is hard to imagine that this is a pirate's paradise. And Marquis West Sea is the pirate leader of West Spirit Island. Ji Yufei is very curious. What kind of person is this Marquis West Sea to be able to govern West Spirit Island so well? This is basically a kingdom. Chapter 4750. West Spirit Island was located in the West Sea of the Eternal Divine Dynasty's western region. It was originally within the Eternal Divine Dynasty's territory, but it had never been under the Eternal Divine Dynasty's jurisdiction. Of course, West Spirit Island was still nominally part of the Eternal Divine Dynasty's territory. The Marquis of West Sea of West Spirit Island was also conferred a title by the Eternal Divine Dynasty. In the entire Eternal Divine Dynasty, only a handful of people had been conferred the title of a Marquis. Let's go to West Hill City. Wang Xian directly brought Ji Yufei to West Hill City. Along the way, no one dared to stop them, and their journey was smooth. The atmosphere on West Spirit Island was extremely tense. There was news that the imperial envoy sent by the Eternal Divine Dynasty had been killed in a small town on the west coast. Some people said that the Marquis of West Sea had sent someone to kill the imperial envoy. The Marquis of West Sea did not want to take the blame. He had actually come out to clarify that this matter had nothing to do with him. However, he had to have someone believe him. The atmosphere on West Spirit Island was very tense. The important places were heavily guarded, and the coastal areas were heavily guarded by the Marquis of West Sea. When Wang Xian and Ji Yufei arrived at West Sea City, the city gates were already closed. At this time, West Sea City was in a state of tight defense. Open the gates! Wang Xian shouted at the guards on the city walls. Who's shouting? A general on top of the city wall scolded. Ah, it's the old master. The moment the general saw Wang Xian's appearance, he was so shocked that he almost fell off the city wall. Open the gates, open the gates. You Hune people should be more efficient, okay? The general roared at the soldiers guarding the city gate. Yes, yes, yes. The soldiers guarding the city gate hurriedly opened the gate. When they entered the city, the general had already eagerly walked down from the top of the city wall, wanting to curry favor with his old master, Wang Xian. Scram! Wang Xian glared at the general. Yes, yes, yes. Scram immediately. The general actually rolled away. You're quite impressive. Ji Yufei laughed. Hee hee. Wang Xian laughed dryly and walked towards the direction of the city lord's mansion. Ji Yufei quickly followed. On the streets of West Sea City, there was an endless stream of horses and carriages. There were many shops on both sides and all kinds of people coming and going on the streets. It was very lively. This made Ji Yufei very surprised. The inside and outside of this West Sea City were simply two different worlds. The atmosphere outside the city was tense, but inside the city was still very calm. The pirates here didn't look like pirates. Those who are passing by, come and take a look. The beast core of the West Sea Water Ape King is only 1,000 immortal crystals. 1 immortal transformation grass, 500 immortal crystals. Top-grade dragon bloodstone, come and take a look. On both sides of the street, there were many people setting up stalls and shouting. Ji Yufei realized that the things these guys were selling weren't fakes. They were all genuine cultivation resources. In Eternal World, the currency used here was immortal crystals. Immortal crystals were good items. They were a cultivation resource that all cultivators in Eternal World needed. The reason for that was because immortal crystals contained formidable worldly spiritual energy. All cultivators would use immortal crystals for cultivation. In the world of cultivation, cultivation resources were generally traded or purchased using immortal crystals. Dragon bloodstone is a good item. Ji Yufei walked towards the stall selling the dragon bloodstone. Dragon bloodstone? Wang Xian gave Ji Yufei a glance and was quick to guess what he wanted to do. This fellow wanted to recover his cultivation base. The dragon bloodstone contained ancestral dragon energy. Naturally, this was a good item for him. The ancestral dragon of Eternal World was not something that the ancestral dragons of other worlds could compare with. The ancestral dragons here were eternal-level existences. Brother, what do you think of this dragon bloodstone? This is a top-grade dragon bloodstone. It was found in an ancient dragon nest. It is definitely a good item. Seeing someone show interest in his dragon bloodstone, the middle-aged stall owner's swarthy face smiled into a chrysanthemum. A dragon bloodstone found in an ancient dragon nest. Ji Yufei grew even more interested. Hey, this Shwebuyue is trying to scam people again. Some people nearby whispered to each other. Treasure found in an ancient dragon nest. That's just an ordinary dragon bloodstone. Some people were watching the show. This dragon bloodstone looks very ordinary. Even Wang Xian frowned. He, too, was looking down on the stone. The dragon bloodstone was very big. It was as tall as an average human and weighed at least 5,000 jin. Additionally, the dragon blood on the stone was very bright. It was as though it had just been dyed. However, not a strand of dragon energy seeped out from the dragon bloodstone. Even the average dragon bloodstone would seep out with dragon energy, let alone an ancient dragon bloodstone dug out from an ancient dragon nest. Without dragon energy, it was just a piece of useless stone. How much? Ji Yufei reached out with his hand to touch the blood-colored stone. It was cold to the touch, but other than that, there seemed to be nothing strange about it. However, the peerless divine saber in Ji Yufei's inner world shook when he touched the dragon bloodstone. That was a peerless ominous saber, forged from the corpse of an ancient azure dragon. That ancient azure dragon was an extreme Dao-level peerless ominous dragon. Since the peerless ominous saber had a reaction, there was something strange about this dragon bloodstone. One had to know, there was a connection between the bloodlines of the dragon race. It was the same for the dragons in the Eternal World, the human world, and the ancestral realm. 10,000 immortal crystals. The stall owner, Shwebuyue, stretched out a finger. What? Why don't you go rob someone? Wang Xian said coldly. 10,000 immortal crystals was not a small amount. Even a medium-sized immortal crystal mine could only produce 10,000 to 20,000 immortal crystals in a year. Low-grade immortal crystals? Gu Fei said. Haha, fellow Daoist, you must be joking. Xuebueyue's smile became somewhat unnatural. Mid-grade? Gu Fei said again. High-grade? Xuebueyue stared at Gu Fei and said. 10,000 immortal crystals, and high-grade at that? Wang Xian was speechless. This was just a useless stone. This was simply a scam. 1,000. Gu Fei said indifferently. What? 1,000? The stall owner, Xuebueyue, thought that he had misheard. 1,000 it is. Gu Fei still looked indifferent. This, Xuebueyue was also speechless. 1,000 is too little, Xuebueyue said hesitantly. Forget it then. Gu Fei said and was about to leave. Hey, don't. Add more. This is a dragon bloodstone that was really dug out from the ancient dragon nest. Xuebueyue hurriedly said. I thought that this stone was not bad. It's bright red and pleasing to the eye as an ornamental stone, but don't take me for a fool. Gu Fei's expression remained indifferent. This. Chapter 4751. West Sea City was bustling with activity. On both sides of the street, in addition to shops, there were also many people setting up stalls. Gu Fei took a fancy to a dragon bloodstone that was as tall as a person and weighed thousands of kilograms. This dragon bloodstone was formed by splashing the blood of a real dragon on the stone. The blood of a real dragon contained the essence of the dragon. This essence seeped into the stone and then condensed inside the stone. This was the origin of the dragon bloodstone. However, the blood of a real dragon was too rare, so the dragon bloodstone was also very rare. As long as it was a real dragon bloodstone, it would more or less emit dragon qi. However, the dragon bloodstone that Gu Fei took a fancy to did not have any dragon qi at all. Fellow Daoist, I can tell that you are an extraordinary person at first glance. You will definitely achieve great things in the future. You should add more points. 1,000 high-grade immortal crystals are too little. You should know that this dragon bloodstone came from the ancient dragon nest. I can tell that you are someone who doesn't lack immortal crystals. The middle-aged cultivator, Xuebueyue, said with a fawning expression. I don't lack immortal crystals, but it depends on whether it's worth it. Gu Fei smiled. Then, fellow Daoist, add another 1,000. 2,000 high-grade immortal crystals and this dragon bloodstone will be yours. Xuebueyue had been setting up a stall here for a few days. No one would take a second look at this dragon bloodstone. Now that he had finally encountered a big fish, how could he face himself if he didn't take advantage of this big fish? 2,000 is too expensive. 1,200. I don't want any more. Gu Fei said with a firm tone. This, Xuebueyue hesitated. He was more than happy to sell this dragon bloodstone. Just as he was about to agree, a voice came from the side. 2,000 high-grade immortal crystals. I want this dragon bloodstone. A young man in white walked over with a folding fan in his hand. Gu Fei looked at the young man in white and saw that he was handsome and had a good appearance. However, there was a trace of evil in his eyes. Xuebueyue's eyes lit up when he saw this young man. He smiled like a chrysanthemum. This was another person who didn't lack immortal crystals. Dragon. Wang Xian, who was standing beside Gu Fei, suddenly said. You can actually see through my true form? The white-dressed young master looked at Wang Xian with some surprise. The current Wang Xian was just like an ordinary person. There was no aura of a cultivator coming from his body. However, it was obvious that the white-robed young master knew his stuff. The more ordinary a person looked, the more extraordinary and powerful he was. Wang Xian sneered and did not speak. You dare to be rude to my young master? One of the attendants behind the white-clothed young master immediately jumped out and pointed at Wang Xian. Don't be rude. The white-clothed young master hurriedly shouted at his entourage. It was best not to provoke such an unfathomable person. Yes, young master. When the follower saw that the white-dressed young master was enraged, he immediately cowered. My servant was rude, please don't take offense, fellow Daoist. The white-clothed prince said to Wang Xian. Wang Xian didn't care about this guy at all. This guy didn't seem to mind at all. Fellow Daoist, are you willing to pay 2,000? Shwebuyue looked at the white-dressed young master in pleasant surprise. That's right. The white-dressed young master nodded and said. As he spoke, he walked up and put his hand on the dragon bloodstone as if he was sensing something. Seeing that the dragon bloodstone was about to fall into his hands, Ji Yufei was very displeased when a gigolo suddenly appeared at this moment. Fellow Daoist, you're too unkind to snatch what others like. Ji Yufei looked at the white-dressed young master indifferently. Well, fellow Daoist, I also like this stone very much. The highest bidder gets it. There's nothing wrong with that. The white-dressed young master retracted his right hand from the dragon bloodstone and shrugged. The highest bidder gets it. Ji Yufei smiled. You actually want to compete with me in terms of wealth? You're really overestimating yourself. Haha, this dragon bloodstone will naturally belong to whoever offers the highest price. At this moment, Shwebuyue was overjoyed. In his opinion, this was just a piece of waste stone. He was overjoyed that someone was fighting for this stone. This was the only way he could sell it at a high price. 2001 high-grade immortal crystals. Ji Yufei said. 2002. The white-dressed young master immediately bid. 2003. 2004. This time, Shwebuyue was dumbfounded. What's wrong with these two guys? Increasing the price by one high-grade spirit stone after another. Are they playing with me? Ji Yufei and the white-dressed young master were at loggerheads. The price he offered was just one more than this guy, no more, no less. After bidding for a long time, it only increased to more than 2,500. This made Shwebuyue, who thought he could make a fortune, so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Some busybodies gradually gathered around to watch the show. I say, can't you two settle it at once? Shwebuyue said angrily. All right, I'll pay 5,000. The white-dressed young master made a ruthless move. 5,001. Ji Yufei said unhurriedly. Fellow Daoist, that's not good. Are you playing with me? The white-dressed young master was really angry. You just realized it. Ji Yufei smiled. What, you? The white-dressed young master was instantly furious. Kid, how dare you play with my young master dragon? Are you courting death? The entourage behind the white-dressed young master immediately jumped out and pointed at Ji Yufei and scolded. This time, young Master Long didn't reprimand his followers anymore. In fact, it was difficult for him to sense anything wrong with this dragon bloodstone, but his intuition told him that there must be something wrong with this dragon bloodstone. Young Master Dragon, are you not going to bid? Shwebuyue looked at the young Master Dragon and asked carefully. Humph. Let's go. The young Master Dragon glared at Ji Yufei, then turned around and left with his entourage. Young Master Dragon, don't you want this dragon bloodstone? Shwebuyue shouted. He wanted the young Master Dragon to raise the price. However, the young Master Dragon left angrily with his entourage without looking back. Kid, you have to be careful. The West Sea Dragon Clan is not to be trifled with. Wang Xian suddenly said to Ji Yufei. West Sea Dragon Clan? Ji Yufei couldn't help but frown when he heard that. How does the West Sea Dragon Clan compare to Wu Tianheng? Ji Yufei asked. That's hard to say. Wang Xian pondered. One should know that there were also super ancient beings in the West Sea Dragon Clan. It was hard for outsiders to guess the background of such a powerful clan. Fellow Daoist, this dragon bloodstone, Shwebuyue looked at Ji Yufei with a smile that was like a chrysanthemum. Are you afraid that I won't take it? Ji Yufei smiled and threw out a stalk of godly medicine. This, Shwebuyue received the divine herb, and his eyes immediately lit up as he stared fixedly at it. Are you sure you want to exchange this divine herb for my dragon bloodstone? Shwebuyue's voice trembled. Of course. Ji Yufei waved his hand and the dragon bloodstone flew into his inner world. I don't even know why you're interested in a useless stone. Wang Xian said in confusion. You'll find out soon enough. Chapter 4752. The West Sea Dragon clan was definitely one of the most powerful forces in the West Sea. Even on West Spirit Island, Marquis Westsea didn't want to provoke the West Sea Dragon clan. That young Master Dragon was from the West Sea Dragon clan. Young Master Dragon hid very well, but Wang Xian was a true eternal expert. He naturally saw through young Master Dragon at a glance. Ji Yufei didn't care who this young Master Dragon was. He wouldn't give up what he wanted to others easily. Moreover, there was something strange about this dragon bloodstone. Every time Ji Yufei touched it, the peerless dragon saber in his inner world would vibrate. You have to be careful of those guys from the West Sea Dragon clan. Wang Xian brought Li Kuang to the City Lord's mansion. TCH. Ji Yufei didn't take it seriously at all. Wang Xian smiled and didn't say anything else. At this time, an old general in battle armor came to Ji Yufei and the others with a spear in hand. "Greetings, old master." The old general hurriedly saluted Wang Xian. "Where's Wang Hao? Tell him to come out and see me." Wang Xian said coldly. "Well, the city lord isn't on the island," the general said carefully. Cold sweat seeped out of his forehead. "Let's go." Wang Xian sneered and turned to leave with Ji Yufei. In the east of West Sea City, there was a courtyard. This was Wang Xian's residence in West Sea City. Wang Xian was actually Marquis West Sea of the Eternal Divine Dynasty. No, it should be the previous generation's Marquis West Sea. Back then, he was very awe-inspiring. However, just when he was at the peak of his life, he was plotted against and sent down to the lower realm. This time, he came back to take revenge. However, he found that the current Marquis West Sea was actually his son, Wang Hao. Back then, Wang Hao was only a half-step extreme grade cultivator. Now, this kid had become Marquis West Sea, and his cultivation had broken through to the eternal grade. His enemies from back then had all been killed by his own son. In other words, he didn't need to seek revenge. Wang Xian's return strengthened Marquis West Sea's forces, giving him the confidence to oppose the Eternal Divine Dynasty. Ji Yufei temporarily stayed at Wang Xian's place. At this time, in the largest inn in the east of West Sea City, Sir Long was meeting with a mysterious person. This mysterious person came from the West Sea City's City Lord mansion. Humph. Wang Hao wants to form an alliance with the Dragon Clan of the West Sea? You want to marry the princess of our West Ocean Dragon Clan? Stop dreaming. Young Master Long sneered. Your Highness, what do you mean by this? The mysterious man was a little annoyed. Nothing much. Please tell your master that a toad can't eat a swan's meat. Young Master Long said in disdain. The mysterious man shrouded in black was both shocked and furious. So the West Sea Dragon Clan doesn't want to cooperate with us? The mysterious man said tentatively. As long as you help me kill this person, how about my West Sea Dragon Clan ally with your West Sea City? Young Master Long waved his right hand and a shadow appeared in the sky. That shadow was none other than Ji Yufei. Kill this person? The mysterious man looked at the figure in the sky and couldn't help but frown. Can you or not? Just say it. Be straightforward. Young Master Long was a little impatient. All right. The mysterious man nodded. Haha, great. Then this young master will wait for your good news. Young Master Long laughed. Humph. See you later. The mysterious man stood up, cupped his hands to young Master Long, and left directly. Young Master, this guy dared to show you face. Do you want to teach him a lesson? A servant said carefully to young Master Long, are you stupid? If you teach this guy a lesson, who will help me kill the little guy who competed with me for the Dragon Bloodstone? Young Master Long almost kicked this guy to the street. Ah. Yes, yes, yes. The servant immediately trembled with fear. Dare to compete with me, humph. Young Master Long said to himself with a grin. He didn't put Ji Yufei in his eyes. Damn, young Master Long actually asked me to kill old master's friend. Soon, the mysterious man knew that he was being used. The person that young Master Long asked him to kill turned out to be Wang Xian's friend, Ji Yufei. What should he do? That person was now in the east of the city, staying with old master. The mysterious man was Marquis West Sea's confidant. No matter how resourceful he was dumbfounded. How would he dare to kill Old Master's friend? However, if he didn't kill him, he couldn't form an alliance with the West Sea Dragon clan. This was really too difficult. What should we do now? One of the mysterious man's subordinates said. How would I know? Let's wait and see first. The mysterious man was very depressed. In order to get the support of the West Sea Dragon clan, the mysterious man readily agreed to help young Master Long kill Ji Fei. However, the mysterious man was having a headache now. He had to contact Marquis West Sea. This Marquis West Sea was really not on West Spirit Island. The mysterious man could only send a message to Marquis West Sea. Soon, the mysterious man received a reply from Marquis West Sea. There was only one word in the reply: kill. Then let's kill. The mysterious man began to arrange his subordinates. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will always be victorious. The mysterious man began to make adjustments to Ji Fei. He's actually an extreme Tao Supreme. Things are getting interesting. The mysterious man smiled. They couldn't kill Ji Fei in Old Master's house. They could only wait for Ji Fei to come out of his residence before they could make a move to kill this guy. On this day, Ji Fei finally came out. He was heading to the West Sea City's auction. This time, there was an item that he must obtain in the West Sea City's auction. Only by obtaining that item could Ji Fei touch the Dragon Bloodstone. However, just as Ji Fei left Wang Xian's residence, he was blocked in a small alley. Who are you? Ji Fei looked at the three masked men opposite the alley and said in a deep voice. Behind her, there were also three masked men in black clothes. In the hands of these people, they were all holding powerful Tao weapons. 6 Extreme Tao Supreme. What a big move. Who wanted to kill him? That so-called young Master Long. Little guy, die. The 6 mysterious men directly attacked Ji Fei. The power that erupted from the powerful Tao weapons was very shocking. Humph. Ji Fei sneered. In the next moment, he disappeared on the spot. When he appeared again, he was already above the head of one of the masked men in black clothes. What? The 6 Extreme Supremes were taken aback when they saw this. Rumble, Ji Fei stepped on the head of one of the mysterious men. Bam! The power of heaven trampling erupted, and the mysterious man was actually stomped into the ground by Ji Fei. Seeing this scene, the black-clothed masked men were truly shocked. Kill. Chapter 4753. The West Sea City was a big city, and it was also an ancient city. The auction here was very famous, because all the pirates of the West Sea would auction their good stuff here in hopes of selling it for a good price. Wang Xian was the previous city lord of this ancient city. Someone invited him to participate in the West Sea auction, but he didn't have the time to attend. Hence, Ji Fei attended on his behalf. However, Ji Fei was ambushed on his way to the auction. 6 supreme beings blocked Ji Fei in an alley and attacked, wanting to kill Ji Fei with absolute power. However, the 6 supreme beings didn't expect that the person they had to deal with was so abnormal. Ji Fei stomped an supreme being into the ground with 1 foot, only revealing his head. In the next moment, this unlucky fellow died. Blood was seeping out of his 7 orifices, and the supreme primordial spirit in his body was shattered by Ji Fei's stomp. The other 5 extreme grade supremes were shocked to the extreme when they saw this scene. They had just made a move, and someone from their side had already received a bento box. Let's attack together and blast him into pieces. The leader of the group, a black-bearded old man, roared furiously. He mobilized his life-bound Tao artifact to attack Ji Fei. A formidable power of the extreme Tao erupted, causing the surrounding buildings to shake. Kill. The others didn't dare to hold back and attacked with all their might. The 5 supreme Tao artifacts unleashed their strongest power and shot towards Ji Fei at the same time. This attack was incomparably terrifying, causing transparent ripples to appear in the void. Even though the surrounding houses were protected by the power of the Great City Protecting Formation, cracks still appeared on them. Sigh. You're courting death. Ji Fei suddenly smiled bitterly and shook his head. However, in the next moment, his gaze suddenly turned sharp, and an extremely domineering aura erupted from his body. He was like a slumbering supreme beast that was suddenly awakened, and his shocking murderous aura caused the wind and clouds to change color. One punch to break extreme supremacy. Ji Yufei roared and threw out 5 punches. Then, the 5 supreme Tao treasures that were hurtling towards him shattered in the void. His fist force continued to soar as it smashed the supreme Tao artifact. It headed straight for the 5 supreme Tao supremes. How is this possible? I don't want to die. Lingyu, that be *starred, he set us up. The 5 extreme grade supremes were scared out of their wits by Ji Yufei's indestructible extreme shattering fist. They wanted to escape, but Ji Yufei's fist energy suppressed everything in its path. The 5 extreme Tao supremes all felt as though an immemorial divine mountain was pressing down on them. It was extremely uncomfortable. Without any suspense, the 5 extreme grade supremes were directly blown up by Ji Yufei's one punch and turned into 5 clouds of blood mist. Among them, the primordial spirits of 4 of them were shattered, and their bodies and souls were destroyed. Ji Yufei opened his mouth and inhaled. The primordial chi of the 5 extreme grade supremes was completely devoured by him, leaving only a primordial spirit floating in the void. He deliberately left a primordial spirit behind in order to read their memories and find out who the mastermind was. Ji Yufei's eternal martial constitution was a bottomless pit. Even though he had absorbed the primordial chi of the 5 extreme grade supremes, his cultivation did not improve much. However, Ji Yufei's chi and blood were much stronger than before. At some point, the void shook and 6 black holes appeared in the void. Those were the inner worlds created by the 6 extreme grade supremes. Once the owners of these inner worlds died, the inner worlds would naturally collapse. Ji Yufei directly suppressed these 6 inner worlds and then took them away. These were all his spoils of war. These 6 inner worlds contained the lifetime savings of these 6 extreme grade supremes. He disappeared in a flash with a primordial spirit. 6 extreme Tao paragons were directly killed by Ji Yufei. They were completely wiped out, and the 6 great inner worlds were taken away. Before the others could arrive, he had already left this place and continued on his way to the West Sea auction house. At this time, the auction had not yet begun. In the VIP room, young Master Long was lying on a soft couch with his legs crossed. The maidservant next to him was carefully feeding him a golden immortal fruit. Young Master, I heard from Lingyu that he spent a lot of money to hire 6 extreme grade supremes to ambush that guy named Ji Yufei. That reckless guy is definitely dead this time. A servant in green in front of young Master Long said in a low voice. This is the consequence of snatching things from me. Young Master Long said coldly. Yes, yes, yes. That guy deserves it. The servant in green hurriedly said. At this time, Marquis West Sea's strategist, Lingyu, was waiting for news in another VIP room. The auction house in West Sea City was very large, with more than a dozen VIP rooms. This time, all the VIP rooms were occupied by the nobles in the city. At this time, the auction was about to begin. The entire auction house was full, because among the auction items this time, there were a few very good things that attracted the attention of countless people. At this time, a person opened Lingyu's door and walked in. What? The 6 extreme grade supremes are all dead. In the VIP room, Lingyu exclaimed. Hearing the news that Ji Yufei was not dead, Lingyu was shocked and angry. In order to please young Master Long, he did not hesitate to spend a lot of money to kill Ji Yufei. But now, his plan failed. At this time, Ji Yufei walked in from outside. What? Ji Yufei is not dead. In the VIP room, young Master Long was really shocked when he received the report from his subordinate. How is it possible that even the 6 extreme grade supremes can't kill this guy? Young Master Long said in disbelief. At this time, the auction had already begun. The first auction item was a dagger. This was a sharp dagger that could even cut through divine iron. In the end, the mysterious dagger was auctioned off for more than 500 high-grade immortal crystals. 500 high-grade immortal crystals was not a small number. This dagger had no special characteristics except for its sharpness, and there were no Tao patterns left by the extreme grade supremes on it. There will never be a lack of people in this world, stupid and rich guys. Ji Yufei went directly to Ling Yu's VIP room, then directly kicked open the door of the VIP room and barged in. You, Ling Yu was shocked and angry. How dare you plot against me? Who do you think you are? Ji Yufei stepped forward and punched this guy in the face, making his face look as wonderful as a dye shop. You, Ling Yu stared at Ji Yufei in disbelief. You want to ask me how I know, right? I'm not afraid to tell you, I also know a little bewitching technique. Ji Yufei sneered. Chapter 4754. Ji Yufei went out early in the morning happily to participate in the West Sea City's West Sea auction. But who would have thought that as soon as he went out, he would be blocked in an alley? If his cultivation had not been restored to the extreme grade realm, wouldn't today be his death anniversary? It was intolerable. Ji Yufei immediately killed the 6 extreme martial supremes that ambushed him and took away their inner worlds. He then used the godly plunder secret technique to read the memories of one of their nascent spirits. The mastermind turned out to be someone from the West Sea City Lord's mansion, and this person was Marquis West Sea's military advisor. After knowing all this, Ji Yufei felt terrible. Damn, it turned out to be Marquis West Sea's military advisor who hired assassins to kill him. This is too melodramatic. Why? I have no enmity with Marquis West Sea, nor do I have any grievances with him. Why does Marquis West Sea's military advisor want to kill me? I'm also friends with Marquis West Sea's father. Ji Yufei charged straight to the auction house, kicked open the door of the VIP room, and barged in. With a single punch, he smashed the face of the military advisor under the Marquis of West Sea into a bloody mess. Tell me, why do you want to kill me? Ji Yufei sat down on the soft couch, reached out to pick a spirit fruit from the fruit plate on the table, and threw it into his mouth. What? Ling Yu was stunned when he heard this. Don't play dumb in front of me, or I will trample you to death. Ji Yufei looked coldly at Ling Yu, who was covering his nose, and said, Do you know who I am? How dare you threaten me? Ling Yu pointed at Ji Yufei and shouted. What are you shouting for? Ji Yufei suddenly stood up and waved his right hand. Slap. Ji Yufei slapped Ling Yu's face hard, and he flew out, hit the wall, and then slid to the ground. If you keep talking, I will kill you. Ji Yufei was truly enraged this time. Ling Yu, the #1 counselor under Marquis West Sea, was stunned by Ji Yufei again. He lay on the ground, unable to stand up. At this time, in this VIP room, the servants who served Ling Yu were all trembling in fear. Don't kill me, I'll talk. Ling Yu directly admitted defeat. Ji Yufei's slap directly knocked out a few teeth on his left side. His mouth was full of blood, and his speech was a little slurred. Then, Ling Yu betrayed Mr. Dragon without any sense of loyalty. It's that guy. Ji Yufei recalled the arrogant and despotic fellow who fought with him for the Dragon Bloodstone. What's so great about the West Sea Dragon clan? Ji Yufei said angrily. This has nothing to do with me. It was young Master Long who ordered me to do this. Ling Yu pushed all the blame to Mr. Dragon. It was more important to stay alive. This guy's killing intent was not a joke. This guy really wanted to kill her. Although Ling Yu was a counselor under Marquis West Sea, he also had a half-step extreme grade cultivation. He knew that if the guy in front of him wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as pinching an ant to death. Ling Yu was known for his intelligence. This guy had already investigated Ji Yufei's background. The other party was the old master's friend. Even if he killed him, Marquis West Sea couldn't do anything to him. The old master was even more powerful than his master, Marquis West Sea. Die. No. Ji Yufei didn't care so much. He directly stepped on Ling Yu's head. The next moment, this guy's head was directly stepped into the hard floor, and he died. Ling Yu never thought that he, who was smart all his life, would die in such a worthless way. He never thought that he would be trampled to death. Piercing the sky, the attendants in the VIP room were all scared half to death. Ling Yu's cultivation was not very high, but he was the favorite of Marquis West Sea. Who was Marquis West Sea? He was an awesome person who dared to go against the eternal divine dynasty. In this West Sea city, and even the entire West Spirit Island, Marquis Westsea was the absolute ruler. Gu Fei didn't care about this. He directly rushed to the VIP room where young Master Long was. Bam! Gu Fei directly kicked open the door of the VIP room where young Master Long was and then rushed in. "It's you." When young Master Long saw that it was Gu Fei, he was so scared that he jumped up from the soft couch. The two maids next to him were also scared out of their wits. "You're really lucky." Young Master Long laughed sinisterly. "Haha, I don't know if I'm lucky or not, but I know that you will die here today." Gu Fei looked at young Master Long opposite him and suddenly said with a smile. This guy was only a half-step extreme Dao cultivator, but this guy dared to run amok in Westsea City. Wasn't it because he had the support of the Westsea Dragon clan? No matter how strong the Westsea Dragon clan was, could they be stronger than that guy from Mount Fulong? That mysterious dragon lady from Mount Fulong was the real ruthless character. At this time, the Fire Continent was almost destroyed. The mysterious dragon lady was pitilessly powerful. She killed so many people that the Fire Spirit Patriarch hid in the fire vein of the Fire Continent and didn't dare to come out. When the news spread, the world was shocked. Although Gu Fei was on West Spirit Island, he also heard about this. "Haha," young Master Long suddenly laughed and looked at Gu Fei mockingly. "You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you think you're invincible just because you killed a few extreme Dao cultivators? What a joke. Wu Long, tell this guy, if you attacked, how many moves would it take to kill those extreme Dao cultivators?" Young Master Long stared at Gu Fei contemptuously. "One move." An inconspicuous old servant in green behind young Master Long walked out. "Did you hear that?" Young Master Long said coldly. "I thought you were an ordinary extreme Dao cultivator. I didn't expect you to be at the peak of extreme Dao. Interesting." Gu Fei was still laughing. "What? You can see Wu Long's cultivation?" When young Master Long heard this, his expression finally changed. No one knew Wu Long's cultivation better than him. He borrowed Wu Long's cultivation from his father. Wu Long was at the peak of extreme Dao. This was the reason why young Master Long had the confidence to travel the West Sea. "I want to see how you can kill me in one move." Gu Fei looked at the old servant in green opposite him and said with a faint smile. "Wu Long, since he wants to die, you can reluctantly send him on his way." Young Master Long said sarcastically. "Yes, young master." The azure-clothed old servant straightened his back and a shocking aura immediately erupted from the old servant's skinny body. The VIP room suddenly lit up with mysterious Dao patterns, and the power of the Great Path froze the entire VIP room. The people outside did not know what was happening in the VIP room. The auction was still going on outside. Only the big shots in the other VIP rooms felt that something was wrong. When Gu Fei broke the door and entered, he had already sealed the entire VIP room. Even if the fight inside was earth-shattering, the people outside would not sense any movement. However, the people in the VIP room were miserable. Young Master Long's subordinates and the two maidservants were instantly blown into a mist of blood. Under this shocking power, their bodies and souls were instantly destroyed. Chapter 4755. The auction house of Westsea City was huge, and there were 12 VIP rooms. And these 12 VIP rooms were not ordinary. They were protected by a Dao pattern array set up by a half-step Eternal Realm expert. Even if a peak Extreme Realm expert attacked with all his strength, he would not be able to break these VIP rooms. Only people of high status could enter the VIP room and participate in this auction. However, no one knew that in young Master Long's VIP room, a great battle was breaking out. Gu Fei was extremely powerful. When he learned that the mastermind behind the plot was young Master Long, he immediately rushed into the VIP room where young Master Long was. "Brat, those who offend me never live. Today shall be the anniversary of your death." Young Master Long waved his folding fan and looked at Gu Fei disdainfully. "Is that so? I can tell you, anyone who offends me, I will invite him to receive a bento box." Gu Fei sneered. "What bento box?" Young Master Long was stunned. "Ignorant fool, what does a coffin look like? Does it look like a bento box?" Gu Fei sneered. "You." Wu Long, kill him. Young Master Long was furious and directly ordered the old servant in green. Yes, young master. The old servant in green, Wu Long, responded. Then, he took a step forward and directly punched at Ji Yufei. A huge dragon shadow emerged from his body, baring its fangs and claws at Ji Yufei. This punch was extremely powerful. It was hard to imagine that a thin old man could make such a punch. Humph. Ji Yufei clenched his right hand and punched out. His punch was light as a feather, as if there was no power behind it at all. However, the moment his fist collided with his opponent's fist, the sound of bones breaking rang out. Haha, do you know how powerful I am? Young Master Long laughed. He had a secret treasure to protect himself. Even the power fluctuation of a peak extreme realm expert could not hurt him. However, the next moment, the smile on young Master Long's face froze. Then, his eyes widened in horror, and his eyeballs almost fell out. How is this possible? Young Master Dragon's voice trembled. What he saw was an unbelievable and horrifying scene. The one who was injured was not Ji Yufei, but Oolong. Oolong's entire fist had disappeared. It had been blown up by Ji Yufei's light punch. Then, Oolong let out a blood-curdling scream and was sent flying. He slammed into the wall behind him and bounced back. At the same time, Ji Yufei's second punch came. Bam! With a muffled sound, the black dragon's head exploded. Even its primordial spirit collapsed in the void. An extreme supreme of the dragon clan was killed by Ji Yufei with 2 punches just like that. Simple and direct. 2 punches killed a dragon clan supreme martial artist at the peak of extreme grade. Seeing this scene, young Master Dragon was so scared that his soul was trembling. He watched helplessly as Ji Yufei stepped forward and stopped Oolong's internal world that was about to explode. Ji Yufei had actually forcibly taken away Oolong's internal world. Who are you? Young Master Dragon stared at Ji Yufei in shock and anger. My name is Ji Yufei. Remember, the next generation shouldn't provoke me again. Oh, it seems that you don't have a next life. What should I do? Ji Yufei looked at young Master Dragon and said mockingly. The rich kid who was high and mighty and wanted to kill him as easily as stepping on an ant just a moment ago had now become a pitiful worm. Young Master Dragon's expression changed drastically. Do you know who I am and who my father is? If you can let me go, I'll give you a great opportunity. Otherwise, you won't be able to live even if you kill me. Young Master Dragon said coldly. Great opportunity? What great opportunity? Tell me. Ji Yufei was a little curious. The great opportunity that young Master Dragon took a fancy to was naturally extraordinary. I'll tell you if you promise to let me go. Young Master Dragon's expression was solemn. Then you don't have to say it. Ji Yufei said and threw another punch. No. Young Master Dragon was scared to death when he saw Ji Yufei trying to kill him without saying a word. Bam! There was a dull sound of impact and Ji Yufei's punch was blocked by an invisible force. A ball of light appeared in the void. Hey! Ha ha ha! Young Master Dragon was surprised at first and then delighted. In the end, he laughed so hard that tears flowed out of his eyes. Why, aren't you very powerful? Are you very powerful? Did you kill my bodyguard with 2 punches? Why can't you break my defense now? Young Master Dragon roared at Ji Yufei crazily. Another guy who relies on his father. Ji Yufei was very disdainful. However, he had to admit that the other party's defense was very strong. However, this did not mean that he couldn't break the other party's defense. With the cultivation of the extreme grade realm and the genuine eternal martial body, Ji Yufei's punch just now only used less than 30% of his strength. So what if I rely on my father? It's better than having no father. Young Master Dragon said sarcastically. Sigh, ignorance is really pitiful. As Ji Yufei spoke, he punched again. This time, he increased his strength to 60%. Bam! Catcher! The sound of something shattering could be heard from young Master Dragon's body. Young Master Long, you're really shocked. A crack appeared on a protective jade token on his body, and the protective power of the jade token immediately weakened. Bam! Catcher! Ji Yufei punched again. Then, The protective jade token on young Master Dragon's body shattered and the fragments fell to the ground. Oh no! Young Master Dragon really felt the aura of death, which made his soul tremble. Die. No. Young Master Dragon was so scared that he fell to the ground. Roar. At this moment, a dragon's roar sounded from young Master Dragon's body. A dragon shadow emerged from his body and circled around him. Who dares to kill my descendant? An old voice sounded, and the purple dragon that coiled around young Master Dragon emitted a strong wave of divine will. Divine will incarnation. When Jiu Fei saw the purple dragon on young Master Dragon's body, he could not help but frown. This was the divine will incarnation that the Eternal One planted on this guy. Just now, it was this spiritual will incarnation that blocked his punch and saved this guy. Die. Jiu Fei could not be bothered with this guy. He roared and punched at young Master Dragon and the purple dragon on his body. How dare you! The purple dragon on young Master Dragon's body roared and rushed out of young Master Dragon's body, pouncing at Jiu Fei. Extreme breaking fist, 120%. Jiu Fei's right arm shook, and an extremely terrifying fist force immediately erupted from his fist, shaking the surrounding void. What? The purple dragon only had time to let out a cry of surprise before it was blown up by Jiu Fei's punch. Chapter 4756. After Jiu Fei killed young Master Long, he left the VIP room and went outside to participate in the auction. And at this time, in the VIP room of West Sea City's City Lord's advisor, Ling Yu, stood two ashen-faced middle-aged men. Who killed Ling Yu? A green-robed old man said. That person is called Jiu Fei. The other black-robed old man said. What is this guy's background? The green-robed old man frowned and asked. He is the old City Lord's friend. The black-robed old man said respectfully. The green-robed old man was startled. He didn't expect this guy to be friends with the old City Lord who suddenly came back. This was a bit troublesome. Don't leak the news. The green-robed old man ordered. Yes, the black-robed old man quickly said. Steward Feng, not good. At this time, a white-robed young man rushed in. What is it now? The two old men were getting impatient. You guys better go and take a look. The white-robed young man's voice trembled. What are you panicking for? Lead the way. The black-robed old man said loudly to the white-robed young man. Yes, yes, yes. The white-robed young man quickly turned and walked out of the VIP room. When the two old men saw that the VIP lounge was in a mess and blood was everywhere, they were shocked. Who died? Looking at the VIP room that looked like a battlefield, the two old men were shocked and angry. It's young Master Long, the white-robed young man said with difficulty. What? The two old men were shocked. They didn't expect that the one who died was young Master Long, that was an existence from the West Sea Dragon clan. This was definitely going to pierce the heavens. What should we do? The two old men didn't know what to do. Block the news, wait until the auction is over. The green-robed old man said. All right, let's do it like that. The black-robed old man nodded. This auction was held by the West Sea Trading Group, which was a big force in the West Sea. After the pirates obtained good things, they would sell them for money. There were also many pirates who gave the treasures to the West Sea Trading Group to auction. The auction continued, but no one knew that the people in the two VIP rooms had been killed. The next item is a dagger, a saint weapon that can cut through iron like mud. The starting bid is 30,000 low-grade immortal crystals. The host of this auction was a young woman. All right, this Daoist friend bids 31,000 low-grade immortal crystals. $32,000. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Very soon, the price of the dagger rose to 6,000 low-grade immortal crystals and the price was still rising. 60,000. Jiu Fei shouted impatiently. 60,000. This fellow Daoist has bid 60,000. Are there any other bids? 60,000 going once, 60,000 going twice, 60,000 going thrice, sold. Following the beautiful hostess's final decision, Jiu Fei used 60,000 low-grade immortal crystals to bid for the dagger he wanted. Even though 60,000 immortal crystals were low-grade immortal crystals, it was still a huge sum of money. One must know that even in the eternal world, ordinary cultivators did not have the qualifications to use immortal crystals for cultivation. Ji Fei paid the money and took the dagger. After getting the item, Ji Fei left the auction hall and returned to his residence. He took out the dagger and looked at it carefully. Saint weapon? Ji Fei smiled and did not think much of it. He grabbed the dagger and squeezed it. Catcher. The dagger in his hand broke. No, it was just a layer on the surface of the dagger that broke. An extreme aura seeped out from the dagger in Ji Fei's hand. This was the true appearance of the dagger. It's just as I expected. Ji Fei was very satisfied. He went straight into the cultivation room to study his dragon bloodstone. There was something strange about that dragon bloodstone. With the end of the auction, an explosive news spread throughout West Sea City. Young Master Long is dead. How is that possible? Don't joke around. It's true. One of my brothers saw the miserable state of young Master Long in the VIP room with his own eyes. It was like a Jura hell. Who was so powerful? Everyone was curious. One must know that young Master Long was not an ordinary disciple of an aristocratic family. He was a member of the West Sea Dragon clan. The West Sea Dragon clan was peerless. Young Master Long died in the West Sea City. The West Sea Dragon clan naturally would not let it go. Not many people paid attention to the news of Ling Yu dying in the VIP room of the auction hall. Not long after, the news of Marquis West Sea's return spread. When Marquis West Sea returned, the first thing he heard was that young Master Dragon had died. This shocked him greatly. How did he die? At this time, Marquis West Sea was really troubled. Moreover, Ling Yu's death made him even more furious. Ling Yu had been with him for more than 10 years, giving him advice and advice. In the end, he even became the city lord. But now, Ling Yu was actually dead. When Marquis West Sea knew that his #1 advisor Ling Yu and young Master Long of the West Sea Dragon clan, he immediately went to his father Wang Xian's residence in anger and quarreled with him. Wang Xian did not allow Marquis West Sea to touch Ji Fei. In the end, Marquis West Sea could only leave. Marquis West Sea naturally did not dare to make a move on his father. One must know that his father was now the #1 expert of the West Sea City. Even he was not his opponent. Soon, the people of the West Sea Dragon clan arrived. Hand over the murderer. Otherwise, everyone in the city will die, the old man of the West Sea Dragon clan said angrily. His voice spread throughout the entire West Sea City. Hearing this voice, everyone in the city was shocked to the extreme. Who do you think you are? A voice suddenly came out. Then, a figure walked out from the crowd. He looked up at the experts of the West Sea Dragon clan in the sky and sneered. He was Ji Fei. You go to hell. The experts of the West Sea Dragon clan did not put Ji Fei in his eyes at all. As he spoke, he directly punched at Ji Fei. Bam! Ji Fei also punched up. The two fists collided in an instant, causing a muffled sound. A powerful energy wave spread out, and the surrounding people were sent flying. They saw that Ji Fei's feet had already sunk into the ground, while the experts of the West Sea Dragon clan were sent flying high up in the sky. Ji Fei immediately rushed up to the sky and killed the guy in the sky. This battle came too fast and too sudden. Everyone in the city was shocked to see the two figures fighting in the sky. This guy is simply a troublemaker. Wang Xian saw that Ji Fei started fighting without saying a word. He couldn't help but be speechless. Chapter 4757. The West Sea Dragon clan was a powerful clan in the Western Sea of the Celestial Continent. The Dragon clan of the Eternal World was very strong. An adult dragon clan had a cultivation base and combat power comparable to a sacred level expert. The ancestral dragon of the Dragon clan was a supreme existence in the Eternal Realm. In the Eternal World, there seemed to be no bloodline shackles. The descendants of the ancestral dragon could also become an extreme Dao supremacy and have the opportunity to become an Eternal Realm ancestral dragon. The Western Sea Dragon clan was just a branch of the Eternal World's Dragon clan. However, even though it was just a branch, it still had an eternal level ancestral dragon. Ji Fei had killed young Master Dragon and thoroughly offended the West Sea Dragon clan. When the news reached the West Sea Dragon clan, the entire clan was enraged. The clan leader of the West Sea Dragon clan, the Eternal Realm Ancestral Dragon, was especially furious. Because young Master Dragon was a descendant of the clan leader of the West Sea Dragon clan. The West Sea Dragon clan directly sent a half-step Eternal Realm expert to West Spirit Island to avenge young Master Dragon. However, no one could have imagined that Gu Fei could fight a half-step Eternal Realm expert endlessly. They fought from the sky to the starry sky, and from the starry sky to the outer endless sea. The battle between Gu Fei and the West Sea Dragon clan expert caused a sensation on West Spirit Island. Countless powerful creatures jumped out to watch the battle. It should be known that it was rare to see a battle of this level on West Spirit Island. In particular, Marquis West Sea and Wang Xian rushed out to watch the battle in the sky. "Who the hell are you?" The more the West Sea Dragon clan expert fought, the more shocked he became. Although his opponent's cultivation base was only at the peak of the extreme Dao, his Dao body was extremely powerful. His attacks landed on this guy's body, but he couldn't hurt him at all. The heart of this expert from the West Sea Dragon clan was definitely on the verge of collapse. "Dad's friend is amazing." Marquis West Sea was an Eternal Realm existence. He could see the truth of the battle at a glance. That guy called Gu Fei was simply toying with the West Sea Dragon clan expert. The old dragon of the West Sea is not to be trifled with. When Wang Xian saw this, he couldn't help but frown. Gu Fei was his friend. If the West Sea Elder Dragon were to make a move personally, he would have to fall out with the West Sea Elder Dragon. The West Sea wasn't peaceful at this time. The West Sea Dragon tribe, West Spirit Island, and the Eternal Godly Dynasty were competing against each other. On the surface, the Eternal Divine Dynasty was at a disadvantage and had to compromise with West Spirit Island. Before this, the relationship between West Spirit Island and the West Sea Dragon tribe was still alright. However, after the incident with young Master Long, West Spirit Island and the West Sea Dragon tribe would definitely become enemies. This was not a good thing for West Spirit Island. Gu Fei didn't care about any of this. He couldn't be bothered with any conspiracy or power struggles. As long as they didn't provoke him, they could do whatever they wanted. "However, if you provoke me, then I'll kill you. I'll kill you all. You are not qualified to know who I am." Gu Fei punched out with a violent force, sending the powerful being of the West Sea Dragon race flying for tens of thousands of miles before plunging into the sea. Trying to escape through water, Gu Fei took a step forward and appeared above the place where the West Sea Dragon race expert had fallen into the sea. Then, he stomped his foot down. Boom! The seawater sank, and a huge footprint appeared on the surface of the sea. Below the footprint, a huge dragon was struggling violently, but it was all in vain. Gu Fei stomped the half-step Eternal Realm expert of the West Sea Dragon clan into the seabed. When they saw this scene, the powerful creatures watching from afar were all indescribably shocked. This fellow was unknown, so where did he come from? Gu Fei was definitely a stranger in the West Sea, but in the past few days, even the ordinary people of West Sea City had heard of his name. This was because this guy had killed young Master Long. The West Sea Dragon tribe was a powerful race that even the Eternal Divine Dynasty didn't dare to provoke. Of course, the current Eternal Divine Dynasty was different from the past. After the death of the Eternal Divine Dynasty's patriarch, the imperial family of the Eternal Divine Dynasty had latched onto the martial extreme immortal sect. However, not only did the Eternal Divine Dynasty's strength not weaken, but it became even stronger with the support of the martial extreme immortal sect. One had to know that the martial extreme immortal sect was the top force in the eternal world. Roar! At this time, the huge dragon that Gu Fei had stomped into the bottom of the sea roared angrily, and the half-step eternal level power erupted from its body. Still fierce. Gu Fei stomped down again, causing the huge dragon to doubt its life. "Human, let me go. Otherwise, you won't be able to live either." A voice suddenly sounded in Gu Fei's mind. This was the huge dragon that Gu Fei had stomped into the bottom of the sea. It was sending a voice transmission to Gu Fei. "How dare you threaten me? I'm going to eat dragon soup today." Gu Fei swooped down from the sky and knocked the huge dragon out with a punch. Eat dragon soup. Everyone was speechless. Ji Fei dragged the huge dragon out of the sea. It was a pale golden dragon with a pair of ancestral dragon horns. Its body was like a mountain ridge, and the dragon might it exuded was enough to make the hearts of extreme Dao experts palpitate. Everyone watched as Ji Fei dragged the huge dragon to a mountain ridge outside West Sea City. Then, he took out a huge cauldron and started a fire to cook dragon soup. My God, this guy really dares. The old dragon of the West Sea Dragon clan is probably going to go crazy. Dragon soup. This guy is a freak. Who would dare do something so crazy? Everyone who saw this scene was inexplicably shocked. That was a half-step eternal existence of the West Sea Dragon clan. This guy called Ji Fei was really going to cook an expert of the West Sea Dragon clan. This guy had formed an irreconcilable feud with the West Sea Dragon clan. Ji Fei didn't care so much. He directly put the huge dragon into the mountain river cauldron. Then, he took out the spring water of the divine spring of life from his inner world and drew out the primal chaos divine fire from the mountain river cauldron. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Fuck, he's really doing it. Damn, this guy is really bold. Awesome, please accept my knee. My brother is awesome. The surrounding people were in an uproar. That was a half-step eternal realm true dragon. Was this guy called Ji Fei really going to cook dragon soup with that dragon? Haha, brother, you're so bold. You did what I didn't dare to do. At this time, a loud laugh sounded, and a figure appeared on the mountain where Ji Fei was. Hey, brother, you also like this? Ji Fei laughed. The person who came was Wang Xian. Dragon soup, that taste. I've never eaten it before. Wang Xian was a little embarrassed. He had some scruples because the dragon clan was too powerful in the eternal world. Who would dare to cook dragon soup like Ji Fei? Chapter 4758. The news that Ji Fei was cooking dragon soup on the mountain outside West Sea City spread. The entire West Sea was in an uproar. Countless pirates and experts from overseas were shocked by this news. Roar. At this time, on the mountain outside West Sea City, a dragon's roar came from a cauldron. Ji Fei calmly guided the primordial divine fire to cook the dragon in the cauldron. Rays of light rushed out from the mouth of the cauldron. Above the cauldron, the dragon energy was vast and mighty, and there was the vague shadow of a dragon. If it was in the heavenly realm or the human realm, Ji Fei would naturally not touch the dragon race. After all, the old turtle was also a dragon. However, the dragon race in Eternal World should not have any blood relations with the dragon race in the human realm or heavenly realm. Release me, or else when my ancestor comes, you will die without a burial place. The dragon's divine sense came from the cauldron. Really? I'm so scared. Ha. Ji Fei laughed. That old dragon of the West Sea does have some ability. Wang Xian said to Ji Fei seriously. No fear. Since I dared to cook this guy, I am not afraid of the West Sea Dragon clan. Ji Fei spoke of money disapprovingly. What a big tone. At this time, another figure appeared on the mountain. Ji Fei looked up and saw that this person looked like Wang Xian. There was no need to ask, this guy was the leader of the West Sea Pirates, Marquis of West Sea. Marquis of West Sea wore a golden crown and an embroidered robe. He was handsome and had an extraordinary bearing. Every move he made exuded an imposing aura. What, you don't even call me father? Wang Xian looked at Marquis of West Sea with a sullen face. I only have a mother, no father. Marquis of West Sea said coldly. Sigh. Wang Xian sighed and did not say anything. By the time he was banished to the ancestral plane, his wife was already pregnant. Due to that, he was unable to even witness the birth of their child before leaving Eternal World. This was Wang Xian's lifelong regret. His son was raised by his mother, but he had never been a father for a day. He had never done what a father should do, so it was understandable that his son did not acknowledge him. Is that what your mother taught you? Ji Fei couldn't stand it anymore. This guy actually didn't recognize his own father. This wasn't something a son could do. One had to know that a father was a father, and he wouldn't recognize him unless it was necessary. TSK, Who do you think you are? How dare you lecture me? Marquis West Sea sneered. If it wasn't for your father, do you think you would still be standing here talking to me? Gu Fei said disdainfully. Ha ha. Marquis West Sea laughed and said sarcastically, don't think that you're invincible just because you defeated a half-step eternal true dragon. In front of me, you're just an ant. Brother, help me look after the fire, I'll help you teach your unfilial son a lesson. As Gu Fei spoke, he stood up. Wang Xian wanted to say something but hesitated. Ha, you want to teach me a lesson? Did I hear that right? Marquis West Sea laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Follow me if you have the guts. After saying that, Gu Fei rushed into the sky from the mountain top and directly entered the starry sky. Since you're looking for trouble, I have no reason not to fulfill your wish. Marquis West Sea also rushed into the sky and entered the starry sky. Boom. Without saying much, the two started fighting in the starry sky. Sky trampling. Gu Fei immediately used the eternal law that he had created. He took a step forward and instantly appeared above the Marquis of the West Sea's head. Then, he stomped down. Rumble, terrifying energy waves surged out from beneath his feet, causing spatial ripples to appear one after another in the space below him. Eternal law. Marquis West Sea was taken aback. He felt as if the void around him had solidified, and he couldn't dodge this guy's stomp at all. Raging tide of the sea. Marquis West Sea roared and directly punched upwards. A powerful eternal level fist force erupted from his fist like a raging sea, surging with unstoppable momentum. Bam! The fist and the leg collided, and a terrifying energy storm spread out with the two of them as the center. Wherever the energy storm passed, stars shattered in the void one after another. The two figures instantly separated. How is this possible? Marquis West Sea was extremely shocked. His right fist was trembling. Although his opponent was only at the peak of the extreme grade, his strength was extremely tyrannical. He could actually fight against an eternal one like him. Gu Fei had an eternal Dao constitution, and his strength was tyrannical to the extreme. Ordinary eternal ones were probably no match for him. You're only SOSO. Gu Fei said calmly. What did you say? Marquis West Sea was furious. This guy was too despicable. Did he think that he could teach him a lesson just because he called his father brother? What a joke. Come on, let's have a good fight. Gu Fei used the secret technique of rising to heaven. With his current cultivation, if he didn't use the secret technique of rising to heaven, he was naturally no match for this guy. However, the secret technique of rising to heaven had a time limit. Once the time limit was up, he would be beaten back to his original state. If he was not careful, his vitality would be greatly damaged. However, he had no other choice. An unimaginably powerful wave of power erupted from Gu Fei's body, and the endless spiritual energy of the starry sky frantically gathered towards him. His cultivation was infinitely close to the eternal realm. Interesting. Marquis West Sea stared at Gu Fei, his fighting spirit surging. Come on. Gu Fei hooked his finger at Marquis West Sea. Arrogant. Marquis West Sea instantly disappeared into the void. Huh. Gu Fei's heart moved. The next moment, he also disappeared into the void. Many experts who entered the starry sky to watch the battle were shocked when they saw this scene. They couldn't even capture the trajectory of the two people. Bam! Boom! Two figures constantly flashed in the void. Every time they flashed, an incomparably loud sound rang out in the void. So fast. Countless experts who watched the battle were shocked. While Gu Fei and Marquis West Sea were fighting, on the mountain outside West Sea City, Wang Xian was helping Gu Fei cook the dragon soup, but his attention was on the battle in the starry sky. One had to admit that Gu Fei was really abnormal. He was only at the peak of the extreme grade, but he dared to compete with a true eternal expert. If it was an ordinary peak existence, he would have been beaten by Marquis West Sea. At this time, in the West Sea Dragon Clan's ancestral court, a roar sounded, and then, a huge dragon shadow appeared in the sky. I want to see who dares to kill the disciples of my West Sea Dragon Clan. An old voice came from the West Sea Dragon Clan's ancestral court. Chapter 4759. Jiyu Fei was fighting against Marquis of West Sea. He wanted to teach this guy a lesson on behalf of Wang Xian. Two figures were moving quickly in the starry sky. Their speed was so fast that even powerful creatures at the extreme Dao Supreme level would find it difficult to capture their figures. Boom! Bam! Muffled thunderous sounds kept ringing. The two figures kept colliding. Wherever they passed, a star was directly smashed by them. This made the dark starry sky look like blooming bright fireworks. How could this guy named Jiyu Fei is not even an eternal sovereign, but he can fight with Marquis of West Sea who is in the eternal realm? Too heaven-defying. Countless powerful experts who were watching from the side couldn't help but be speechless when they saw this scene. Is this all you have? Jiyu Fei said while attacking. You dare to look down on me? Marquis of West Sea was angry. He was actually looked down on by a guy who was not even an eternal sovereign. How could this be? Immeasurable. Marquis of West Sea roared. The starry sky trembled, and endless world force gathered towards him. He blasted a palm towards Jiyu Fei opposite him. The palm force was extremely powerful, like endless waves sweeping towards Jiyu Fei. One saber to separate the path of life and death. Jiyu Fei flipped his right hand, and the peerless ominous saber appeared in his hand. Without thinking, he directly slashed forward. Buzz! The peerless ominous saber hummed, and the bright saber light directly split the violent palm force of Marquis of West Sea. In an instant, it slashed towards Marquis of West Sea. Ouch! Brother Jiyu, be careful, don't hurt my boy. On the top of the mountain outside West Sea City, Wang Xian, who was watching the fire for Jiyu Fei, couldn't help but exclaim when he saw this scene. At this time, on the top of the mountain, there was no more movement in the mountain and river cauldron. The aura of the true dragon also disappeared, as if it was really refined. Was it really cooked into a cauldron of dragon soup? Clang! A metallic clang resounded through the starry skies, even the people in West Sea City could hear it. Marquis West Sea also used his weapon. His weapon was a halberd. He swung it horizontally and directly blocked Jiyu Fei's blade. However, the Marquis of the West Sea did not have enough strength, and he was sent flying by Jiyu Fei's saber. Good fellow, I underestimated you. Marquis West Sea was shocked and furious. He immediately charged at Jiyu Fei. The two experts started fighting again. It wouldn't be easy to determine a victor. Marquis West Sea was an eternal, while Jiyu Fei had only used the Ascension secret art to forcibly increase his power level. Jiyu Fei's battle prowess could not be sustained for long. Once the time limit of the Heaven Ascension secret technique was up, he would be beaten back to his original state. At that time, he would be tortured by the Marquis of the West Sea. Heaven treading steps. Extreme breaking fists. Jiyu Fei attacked with all his strength. For a moment, Marquis of the West Sea was forced to retreat, as if he was suppressing the Marquis of the West Sea. Heavens, is there such a thing? All the spectators were dumbfounded. This guy named Jiyu Fei's battle prowess was too heaven-defying. This had already surpassed everyone's imagination. Rumble, just as Jiyu Fei and the Marquis of the West Sea were fighting fiercely, an ancient palace suddenly rushed out from the void. A terrifying energy fluctuation spread out from the ancient palace, causing the surrounding starry sky to tremble. That is, everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Who dares to kill the descendants of my West Sea dragon race? An old voice came from the ancient palace. A powerful killing intent appeared between heaven and earth, causing Jiyu Fei's heart to tremble. The old ancestor of the West Sea dragon race is here. Haha, now there's another good show to watch. Is the West Sea dragon race finally going to make a move? At this time, countless spectators were shocked. The West Sea dragon race was a peerless and powerful race in the West Sea. Almost no one dared to provoke them. But now, a guy named Jiyu Fei dared to kill the dragon prince of the West Sea dragon race. Now, he even put a half-step eternal expert of the West Sea dragon race into the mountain and river cauldron. This was definitely a great hatred that would not rest until one party died. Bam! At this time, Jiyu Fei and the Marquis of the West Sea exchanged a palm strike. The two separated in an instant, and then stared at the ancient palace that suddenly appeared. "Who is Ji Fei? Come out and die." The old voice rang out from the ancient palace again. "This daddy is Ji Fei." Ji Fei stepped forward. "Kill." Without any superfluous words, the existence in the ancient palace directly attacked Ji Fei. A beam of divine light directly rushed out of the ancient palace, directly piercing towards Ji Fei at extreme speed. Even Ji Fei couldn't dodge it. Puff. With a flash of blood, Ji Fei managed to avoid being hit in his vitals, but he felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. What? Ji Fei was taken aback. Could it be that the guy in the ancient palace was the same as Wu Tianheng, a super antique who achieved the Tao in ancient times? Eternal Tao body? Interesting. Seeing that he couldn't kill Yi Shiwen in one blow, the existence in the ancient palace attacked again. Rumble, a big hand appeared in the starry sky, directly grabbing at Ji Fei. Tyrannical power fluctuations surged out from the big hand, and the big hand instantly enveloped Ji Fei. Swish. Just when Ji Fei was about to be caught by the big hand, a sword light slashed up from below, directly splitting the big hand in half. Who is it? Who dares stop me from killing this kid? The existence in the ancient palace was enraged. It's me, West Sea's old dragon. Long time no see. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside Ji Fei. Thank you for saving me, old brother. Ji Fei cupped his fists towards the figure. It's nothing. Wang Xian smiled. You are Wang Xian? How could you? The existence in the ancient palace was taken aback. Wang Xian had made his debut in ancient times and achieved the Tao in the later stages of ancient times. He was from the same era as West Sea's old dragon. However, Wang Xian and the other two had been expelled from Eternal World. For super antiques like West Sea's old dragon and Wu Tianheng, this was no secret. Eternal World was not the only great world. However, there were very few passageways connecting Eternal World to other great worlds. Not to mention, they were also very unstable. Even Eternal Ones would find it very dangerous to pass through the barrier between worlds. If they weren't careful, they could be seriously injured, or even killed. Did you think I wouldn't be able to return? Wang Xian stared at the ancient palace hovering in the starry sky and said coldly. Humph. So what if you're back? What can you change? West Sea's old dragon sneered. Did you take action back then? Wang Xian suddenly asked. Since you've already guessed it, why bother asking me? West Sea's old dragon's voice turned cold. Fine. Today, we'll settle old and new grudges together. Chapter 4760. Only a handful of people in Eternal World knew about the secret of the past. Those who were qualified to know about it were existences capable of shaking the entire world with just a single step. Not even Ji Fei could have guessed that one of the masterminds behind the banishment of Wang Xian to the ancestral plane was this West Sea Patriarch. West Sea Patriarch had lived for countless years and was a super ancient existence in Eternal World. If it weren't for the fact that Ji Fei had gone too far this time, wanting to turn his descendants into dragon soup, he would not have come out. An ancient temple hovered in the sky, exuding an incomparably ancient and vicissitude aura. The surface of the temple was filled with the marks left behind by blades, spears, swords, and halberds. It was a war temple. The entire war temple was an eternal Tao artifact. With West Sea Patriarch presiding over it, the Dragon Temple was united and few could match it. Wang Xian, since you have returned to Eternal World, you should be hiding and struggling at death's door. To think that you would dare return to the West Sea. Do you want to be banished again? West Sea Patriarch's aged voice rang out from within the war temple. TCH. Hearing that, Wang Xian revealed a look of disdain. Those fellows from back then, how many of them could survive until now? Are you trying to scare me? Do you take me for a 3-year-old? After saying that, Wang Xian raised his middle finger at the war temple. Ha ha ha, who do you think you are? I alone can take you down. West Sea Patriarch laughed. If so, come and try. Wang Xian stared at the war temple, gnashing his teeth. Back then, those fellows had destroyed his family and separated his family. This enmity was absolutely irreconcilable. Now that he had encountered them here, he would not rest until one of them died. Kill. West Sea Patriarch roared furiously. Next, countless ancient Tao runes emerged from the surface of the ancient war temple. Every single one of the Tao runes shone with dazzling divine light. Streaks of extremely sharp blades of light shot out from the war temple, blotting out the sky as they slashed towards the Emperor Xian. Brother, it's up to you now. Ji Fei simply backed away. This was a fight between peerless existences at the peak of eternal world. Even Ji Fei would be wounded, if not dead. Afraid that you'll bite me? As soon as the Emperor Profound Realm Fist appeared, the entire world seemed to freeze. A terrifying pressure burst forth, causing the surrounding stars to explode one after another. The destructive light illuminated the dark starry sky. 9 heavens 10 earths supremacy fist. Wang Xian exhaled and roared, directly punching out. Rumble, the violent fist force surged forward, causing the void to tremble. The countless light blades that came slashing down from all directions were directly shattered in the void. Boom! Emperor Xian's fist force landed on the battle hall. Like the beating of a war drum, the battle hall was sent flying hundreds of thousands of miles away. Hey! Inside the battle hall, the West Sea Old Dragon was shocked. He didn't expect Wang Xian's cultivation to have improved so much that he could shake his battle hall. 9 heavens 10 earths supremacy fist. Ji Fei's eyes lit up when he saw Wang Xian's punch. This was definitely an eternal level fist technique. Its power was so great that it seemed to be comparable to his extremity-breaking fist. The other spectators were also shocked to see this scene. Peerless true dragon, one sword to break the universe. In the battle hall, the West Sea Old Dragon bellowed. In the next moment, a huge sword shadow rushed out from the battle hall and slashed at Wang Xian. This sword was fast, ruthless, and absolute. When the sword was unleashed, the sky and earth changed. In an instant, it slashed in front of Wang Xian, leaving him no time to dodge. Clang! With the sound of metal colliding, the old dragon of the West Sea's peerless sword slashed at a shield, leaving a sword mark on it. Kill! After blocking this sword strike, Wang Xian directly attacked the battle temple. It was another fist of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, the unique and righteous fist. Both of his fists smashed towards the battle hall. This move was much more powerful than the previous one. Wang Xian's fists seemed to be able to shatter the universe and shatter everything. Boom! The battle hall was blasted away again. Damn it! The West Sea Old Dragon roared in anger. The other party's extremely overbearing fist technique could actually suppress him. To him, this was definitely a humiliation. Kill, kill, kill. The West Sea Old Dragon's hoarse voice reverberated throughout the starry sky. Countless phantoms rushed out from the battle hall, all of them directly pouncing towards the Emperor Profound Realm Cultivator. An energy wave so powerful that even extreme Dao experts felt their hearts palpitate erupted. When Ji Fei saw this move of the West Sea Old Dragon, his eyes lit up. This battle hall seemed to have the same effect as his mountain and river cauldron. On the mountain and river cauldron, there were also countless beast shadows. These beasts could also transform and attack the enemy. Boom! Wang Xian's supremacy fist of the 9 heavens 10 earths was executed, and one shadow after another was blasted away in the void. Bam! At this moment, the entire battle hall collided with Wang Xian, sending him flying. Roar! Wang Xian roared and charged back. The two experts fought fiercely. Terrifying energy waves spread in all directions. Countless stars exploded in the void like fireworks in the starry sky. These two guys, when Ji Fei saw this scene, he couldn't help but exclaim. No wonder Wang Xian could rescue him from Wu Tianheng. If it were an ordinary eternal expert, he would have been killed by the West Sea Old Dragon. Marquis West Sea also stood in the void, staring at the battle in front of him in disbelief. His father's battle strength was undeniable, but those people behind the scenes seemed to be even stronger. This battle was destined to not be so easy to determine the winner and loser. At this time, on a mountain outside the West Sea City, someone was staring at the huge cauldron that Ji Fei was using to cook the dragon soup. The dragon soup was already cooked, and the meaty fragrance wafting out from the mouth of the cauldron made people want to eat it. The mouth of the cauldron was surrounded by bursts of divine light. This was a dragon soup cooked with a half-step eternal realm true dragon. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot. Even a mouthful of this supreme treasure liquid could increase the cultivation of an extreme Tao realm existence by a lot. So heavy. At this time, on the mountain, a black iron tower-like man wanted to carry the ancient cauldron, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move the cauldron at all. "Old bear, can you do it?" A guy with a protruding mouth and ape-like chin ridiculed him. "If I can't do it, then you do it." The black iron tower-like man roared at that guy. "If I want to do it, then I'll do it. Get out of my way." The guy with a protruding mouth and ape-like chin walked forward and grabbed one of the cauldron's legs. "Rise." The cauldron didn't move. "Damn it, get up." That guy exerted all his strength, and his body's yuan qi was mighty, but the cauldron still didn't move. "I can't handle it." This guy was also defeated. All a bunch of trash. Chapter 4761. Above the West Sea region of the Eternal World, in the starry sky, Emperor Profound and West Sea Elder Dragon fought endlessly. One after another, huge stars shattered in the starry sky. The dim starry sky was illuminated by sudden flashes of light from time to time. Jiu Fei was watching the battle in the starry sky. This was a battle between the strongest experts in the Eternal Realm, attracting the attention of countless big shots. Those blurry divine will incarnations also appeared nearby. These were the divine will incarnations of Eternal Realm experts. Just as the battle in the starry sky was locked in a stalemate, on West Spirit Island, on a short mountain outside West Sea City, a group of people had their eyes on Jiu Fei's mountain and river cauldron. A bunch of trash. A young man in embroidered clothes appeared on the mountain top. "What did you say?" The black iron tower-like man was instantly enraged. Although it was difficult for them to move the ancient cauldron, they were definitely not trash. Because their boss was a half-step extreme Tao existence. "Humph." The young man sneered. With a wave of his right hand, the black iron tower-like man was immediately sent flying. He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. What? Seeing this scene, everyone on the mountaintop was shocked. "Extreme Tao Supreme?" The monk-like guy stared at the young man. "Friend, you seem to be going a bit too far." At this time, another young man walked out from the crowd. He walked like a dragon and tiger, with an extraordinary aura. "So what if I'm going too far?" The young man in embroidered clothes did not put these guys on the mountaintop in his eyes at all. "You." The other young man was shocked and angry. "Scram." The young man in embroidered clothes roared at the young man opposite him. The terrifying sound wave spread out, causing the surrounding void to ripple. The young man's ears were shaken to the point of bleeding. Some of the guys behind him with lower cultivation were directly shaken unconscious. "Let's go." The young man shouted, turned around, and left without any hesitation. Everyone hurriedly picked up the unconscious guys on the ground and chased after him. "Hong Hao, you're so mighty." At this time, a sneer was heard. Then, a figure appeared on the mountain top. "Xian Qing." When the young man in embroidered clothes saw who it was, his face immediately sank. "Hihi, there's still me." Another figure appeared on top of the mountain. 3 youthful existences appeared beside the mountain river cauldron. "It really is dragon soup. Just smelling it can extend one's lifespan by a few years." The youth named Xian Qing exclaimed. He wanted to take the dragon soup, but he was shocked to discover that the cauldron had actually sealed the thing inside. If he wanted to take the thing inside the cauldron, he would have to break the seal. "What do you want?" That Qing called Hong Hao charged towards Xian Qing. "Me." Xian Qing was very unhappy that she couldn't get the dragon soup from the cauldron, so she directly vented her anger on Hong Hao. "Kill." Xian Qing attacked right away. A beam of blade light appeared and an extremely sharp blade chi sliced through the air, slashing down towards Hong Hao's head in an overbearing manner. "You're courting death." Hong Hao was instantly enraged. In the next moment, he opened his mouth and spat out a sword light that collided with the saber light. Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang out. The sword light and the saber light were repelled at the same time. The two supreme experts began to fight. "Haha, go ahead and fight." The other youth laughed and reached out to grab the mountain river cauldron. However, in the next moment, the youth was shocked to see that the ancient cauldron didn't move at all. This made him extremely shocked. "Feng Chen, what do you want?" Seeing this, Hong Hao was both shocked and enraged. He also charged towards Feng Chen. "You two lunatics." The youth named Feng Chen immediately retreated. He didn't want to be involved in the fight, but Feng Chen couldn't just do whatever he wanted. The three extreme grade supremes were engaged in a great battle. Violent waves of energy spread out, causing the entire mountain to shake and dust to fly. However, the mountain river cauldron that stood tall on the ground remained unmoved. All the young experts who witnessed this scene were inexplicably shocked. In fact, without Ji Yufei's approval, who would really have the ability to take the mountain river cauldron away? Ji Yufei wasn't afraid that someone would take the mountain river cauldron away because it was his Dao artifact. Even if it was an supreme expert, it would still be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. At this time, in the starry sky, Wang Xian was fighting the West Sea Old Dragon. He was extremely ferocious, and the 9 heavens and 10 earths supremacy fist even shook the starry sky. However, the West Sea Old Dragon had lived for countless years. His battle experience and trump cards weren't something that an ordinary eternal expert could compare to. Moreover, the West Sea Old Dragon's Dao artifact was a war temple. Boom! Bam! Dull, thunderous sounds of collisions kept ringing out, and the two peak eternal powers kept clashing against each other. The people watching the battle felt their eardrums hurting from the vibrations. The outcome is about to be decided. Ji Yufei muttered to himself. He used to be an eternal expert, so he naturally knew how terrifying an eternal expert was. Whether it was the West Sea Old Dragon or Wang Xian, they still had trump cards. The only one punch, Wang Xian roared. In the next moment, his long hair danced in the wind as he desperately punched at the war temple. The terrifying only one punch erupted. Bam! Wang Xian's fist fiercely smashed against the war temple. Then, tiny cracks appeared on the war temple. Damn it! The West Sea Old Dragon, who was hiding in the war temple, was shocked and furious. He was once again sent flying hundreds of thousands of miles away, but he immediately rushed back. The true dragon's supreme sword. The old dragon of the West Sea roared angrily as he fought back. Powerful swordsmanship power burst forth from the temple. Countless beams of light shot out from the temple, leaving behind hair-thin sword marks in the air wherever they passed. However, the void sword scars quickly disappeared. With their level of cultivation, they could indeed break through the void. However, the void here was very stable, and the broken void would be restored in an instant. Die! Wang Xian punched again, and the terrifying fist force instantly collided with the West Sea Old Dragon's supreme sword light. This was a huge collision. Ripples visible to the naked eye spread out in the void, and countless tiny cracks appeared in the void. However, the cracks soon disappeared, as if they had never appeared in the first place. A figure and a war temple were sent flying at the same time. Once again, neither could suppress the other. If they continued to fight, there would only be one outcome. Both sides would suffer. At this moment, both of them were in a killing frenzy. It was difficult for them to stop. You are qualified to make me come out and fight. Chapter 4762. The West Sea Old Dragon was finally going to show himself. Everyone stared with widened eyes. There were only a handful of people in the entire eternal world who had seen the West Sea Old Dragon's true appearance. A beam of divine light shot out from the ancient war palace and a figure appeared in the void. When everyone saw that person, they were all dumbfounded. They saw that this person was actually a handsome young man dressed in white. They had assumed that the West Sea Old Dragon's voice was old and that he was an old man with snow-white hair. No one could have imagined that this mysterious and unfathomable West Sea Old Dragon would actually look like a young man. This guy, Ji Yufei, was speechless. A super old monster that had lived for countless years actually liked to act young. Everyone found it hard to believe that the legendary super old monster of the West Sea Dragon clan would actually look like this. At that moment, The West Sea Old Dragon beckoned with his right hand and the war palace immediately flew towards him. It rapidly shrank and landed on his hand. Kill. The West Sea Old Dragon roared and smashed the war palace in his hand at Wang Xian. Other than the West Sea Old Dragon, there was probably no other person in the entire eternal world who could use an ancient war palace to smash someone. Fist of the 9 heavens and 10 earth. Wang Xian did not hesitate and immediately unleashed his famous fist technique. Tyrannical absolute Earth's terrifying fist force erupted from both of his fists, causing the entire world to tremble. As he punched out, the nearby stars instantly exploded. That was just a shockwave created when he punched out, and yet it was already so powerful. Even an Eternal One would be blown to bits if they were hit by that punch. Boom! Wang Xian's punch landed heavily on the incoming war palace and the violent fist energy left a fist mark on the walls of the ancient war palace. Countless ancient Tao patterns appeared and intertwined on the ancient war palace. A terrifying fist energy erupted and the war palace was sent flying by Wang Xian's punch, disappearing from sight in an instant. However, the moment Wang Xian sent the war palace flying, the West Sea Old Dragon appeared in the sky above him. Sword domain. Absolute imprisonment. The West Sea Old Dragon unleashed his magic power. In the next moment, Wang Xian felt the world spin, and then he noticed that he'd actually appeared in a world of swords. As for Ji Yufei, who was watching from afar, he only saw Wang Xian suddenly disappear from his line of sight. Afterwards, he was shocked to discover that he actually couldn't feel any aura from Wang Xian. West Sea's Old Dragon also disappeared with Wang Xian. It was as if the two of them had suddenly disappeared into thin air. The experts who were watching the battle were also indescribably shocked. Wang Xian, on the other hand, was calmly looking at everything in front of him. There were swords everywhere, and countless sword shadows emitted astonishing sword chi that circled around him. "Ha, Wang Xian, you're dead meat." The aged voice of the West Sea Elder Dragon resounded in the world of swords before reverberating in the world of swords. TSK. Wang Xian raised his middle finger. "You're still so arrogant even when you're about to die." The old dragon sneered. "Don't joke around. If you could kill me, you would have done so long ago. Why would you still be here talking nonsense?" Wang Xian mocked. "You're courting death." The old dragon was infuriated. Next, countless divine swords appeared within the sword domain. Every single one of them was like a peerless heavenly sword, emanating terrifying sword chi. Next, the endless number of divine swords pierced towards Wang Xian. "I, the unique and supreme," Wang Xian bellowed, and a clump of divine light burst out from his body to instantly envelop him. The countless sword beams pierced the divine light around Wang Xian's body only to shatter them. However, this was a world of swords. Swords were everywhere. Like a tidal wave, the sword shadows surged towards Wang Xian to engulf him. "So what if your Tao of the sword is strong? Can you break my eye, the unique and supreme?" Wang Xian's voice rang out within this world. Damn it! The old dragon was both shocked and furious. This fellow's eye, the unique and supreme profound technique, was truly formidable. Back then, they had to join forces to banish him out of Eternal World. However, this senior's true dragon sword was not to be trifled with. Dragon transformation, sword cleaving the cosmos. The old dragon was going all out. The power of the Tao of the sword within the entire sword domain erupted and he revealed his true form. A black dragon, much bigger than a mountain, circled within the endless sea of swords. The next moment, the black dragon disappeared and transformed into a dragon sword. The sword was like a dragon and the dragon was like a sword. The endless power of the Tao of the sword instantly converged upon the dragon sword. Wang Xian, who was engulfed by the sea of swords, appeared. Slash! The old dragon roared. The next moment, an eternal sword beam slashed down on Wang Xian's protective divine light. Like a piece of cloth being cut, a cut appeared on Wang Xian's eye, the unique and supreme divine light and blood splattered out from Wang Xian's left shoulder. At the same time, Wang Xian's right fist fiercely smashed onto the eternal swordlight, directly blasting it away. Rumble! The entire sword domain began to collapse and two figures appeared in the starry sky outside. When everyone saw this, They could not help but be shocked by these two fellows who had suddenly disappeared and reappeared. They saw that these two fellows were in an extremely sorry state. Both of their clothes were stained with blood, and both of their expressions were weary. Both of them seemed to have suffered serious injuries. Both of them are injured. Everyone was shocked. It seems that your father's injuries are more serious. Gu Fei said to Marquis West Sea. Marquis West Sea did not say anything. He was feeling very complicated. He did not want to acknowledge this father, but he was really his father. Back then, he had no choice but to end up being exiled for an endless amount of time. By the time he returned, Eternal World had long since changed. Marquis West Sea really could not forgive his father. At that moment, the old dragon waved his right hand, and the ancient palace that had been sent flying by Wang Xian's punch flew back from afar and landed in his hand. That's all for today. If we meet again in the future, we will fight to the death. The old dragon was about to leave after saying that. I didn't agree. You can't leave, Wang Xian said coldly. His shoulder was still bleeding. This kind of injury caused by the eternal Great Tao was very difficult to heal. What, do you want to fight to the death? The old dragon said coldly. Yes, to the death. Wang Xian said and was about to attack. However, the old dragon had already disappeared into the void, disappearing without a trace in an instant. This guy fled many times faster than a rabbit. At the same time, in the sky above the sea millions of miles away, a figure walked out of the void. He staggered and almost fell from the sky. This person was the old dragon. Chapter 4763. The battle between Wang Xian and the West Sea Elder Dragon finally came to an end. This battle shook the heavens and the earth, and it drew the attention of countless experts. However, some of the super old fellows who'd lived for countless years had heavy hearts. Someone who had been exiled from Eternal World had actually returned. Young Eternals might not know who Emperor Xian was, but those super old-timers were well aware of how terrifying Emperor Xian was. Back then, Wang Xian had offended too many people. Due to that, he ended up being exiled from Eternal World. Now that he had returned, however, he would surely settle the score with those who had banished him back then. As for those who had banished him back then, they had either died or disappeared. Only the West Sea Patriarch and a few others remained. It would be very difficult to banish this fellow from Eternal World again. At present, the battle between Wang Xian and the West Sea Patriarch had resulted in both sides suffering from grievous wounds. This had shocked the entire Eternal World. Those who didn't know about Wang Xian were very curious about him, but those who knew about Wang Xian had heavy hearts. This Wang Xian was a killing star of his generation, and the number of powerful beings that had died at his hands in the past was innumerable. In this battle, Wang Xian had been heavily injured. Gu Fei and Marquis West Sea hurriedly returned to West Sea City's City Lord's mansion with Wang Xian and entered the cultivation room. Gu Fei took out a drop of the undying god herb and fed it to Wang Xian. The effects of the immortal godly medicine were amazing. Wang Xian's external injuries were quickly healed, but the Great Tao injuries had to be slowly healed by himself. This kind of eternal level Great Tao injury was not something that could be healed by immortal divine medicines. Marquis West Sea's cultivation was far inferior to West Sea Old Dragon's. Even an Eternal like him could do nothing about the great path injuries that West Sea Old Dragon had inflicted on Wang Xian. Wang Xian went into seclusion. His relationship with the Marquis of West Sea had changed. He was no longer as tense as before. I say, why don't we take advantage of the fact that the West Sea Dragon Clan is injured to completely exterminate the West Sea Dragon Clan? When Gu Fei and Marquis of the West Sea walked out of the Emperor Profound's closed-door training room, Gu Fei suddenly said to Marquis of the West Sea. What? The Marquis of the West Sea was stunned when he heard this. Don't you want to dominate the entire West Ocean? Gu Fei looked at Marquis of West Sea seriously. Dominate? Marquis West Sea's eyes lit up. The West Sea was currently ruled by three major factions: West Spirit Island, the Eternal Godly Dynasty, and the West Sea Dragon Clan. The Eternal Divine Dynasty was the weakest of the three major factions in the West Sea, and the strongest faction in the West Sea was the West Sea Dragon Clan. The West Sea Dragon clan ruled the boundless territory of the West Sea. There were countless powerful creatures in the sea. Once this race was provoked, the consequences would be dire. TSK, I thought you were a formidable person, but it seems like I was wrong. Gu Fei shook his head and was about to bid farewell to the Marquis of West Sea. Humph. That's easy for you to say. The West Sea Dragon clan has ruled over the West Sea for countless years, and their strength is formidable. They have countless prawn soldiers and crab generals. How could they be so easily annihilated? Marquis Shihai said coldly. If we work together, we should have a 60% chance of success. Gu Fei muttered. 60%. The Marquis of West Sea was moved. He struggled internally for a while before saying, "All right, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'll go crazy with you for once. Let's go and discuss how to proceed." Marquis Shihai grabbed Gu Fei's hand and went with him to his residence to discuss the details of the matter. Making a move against the Dragon clan of the West Sea was no small matter. If he succeeded, then the Marquis of the West Sea would become the overlord of the West Sea. However, if they failed, everything he had painstakingly built up would vanish into thin air. Dominating the West Sea had always been his dream. However, the West Sea Dragon clan was too powerful, and no one dared to provoke them. He had no choice but to be extremely careful. Old Ancestor, when the old dragon returned to the West Sea Dragon clan's ancestral land, all the members of the clan were extremely shocked. There's someone in the West Sea who can hurt our old ancestor. The senior members of the West Sea Dragon clan were shocked and angry when they saw their old ancestor's blood-stained clothes. Some of them even wanted to avenge him. However, they were stopped by the old dragon. From today onward, seal the ancestral land. The West Ocean Old Dragon gave the order. What? All the members of the West Sea Dragon clan were puzzled and confused. What was wrong with their old ancestor? Was he trying to hide from the world by sealing the ancestral land? That was too ridiculous. However, no one dared to disobey the old dragon's order. As a result, all the important figures of the West Sea Dragon clan returned to the ancestral land. Only a branch of the Dragon clan was left outside the ancestral land to maintain its rule. The West Sea was huge, and the mineral resources at the bottom of the sea were extremely rich. In particular, the important mineral resources were guarded by the West Sea Dragon clan's army. But now, all the important figures of the West Sea Dragon clan had returned to their ancestral land. Once a powerful enemy attacked, the branch forces of the West Sea Dragon clan would not be able to resist. This was something that could not be helped. The West Sea Dragon clan had existed for a long time. Only their old ancestor was an eternal being, but they also had several quasi-emperors. It had to be said that the old dragon was truly powerful. He could see things clearly. He knew that once the news of his injury spread, the enemies would become restless. The West Sea Dragon clan had many enemies. Sure enough, not long after the West Sea Dragon clan sealed the ancestral land, Gu Fei and the Marquis of the West Sea made their move. The countless pirates under the Marquis of the West Sea were all brave and ruthless people. They formed a mighty pirate army that directly charged into the outer sea of the West Sea. The war between West Spirit Island and the West Sea Dragon clan had finally erupted. At the bottom of the outer sea of the West Sea, there was an incomparably vast plain. At this moment, countless people had gathered on this plain. These people were divided into two camps. On one side was the vanguard army of West Spirit Island led by Gu Fei. On the other side was the Marine Race army led by the branch leader of the West Sea Dragon clan, Ao Lei. Kill. Gu Fei directly ordered. In the next moment, countless figures flashed. Everyone behind him rushed forward at the same time, like an unstoppable torrent sweeping forward. Kill. Ao Lei also raised his arms and shouted. The Marine Race army behind him also charged forward. The two groups of people instantly collided and fought fiercely. Battle cries shook the heavens and the earth. As for Gu Fei, he directly faced Ao Lei. In just one exchange, Ao Lei was punched in the face by Gu Fei. His face was instantly covered in blood, and even his dragon nose was smashed by Gu Fei's punch. How is this possible? Ao Lei was both shocked and angry. How could this guy be so strong? Ji Yufei's punch just now made him question his life. At this moment, Ji Yufei charged forward again. Ao Lei was so frightened that he turned and fled. Chapter 4764. Celestial Continent, West Sea, West Spirit Islands. Marquis West Sea finally erupted. He took advantage of the fact that the West Sea Elder Dragon was injured to gather an army and charge into the West Sea. As for the vanguard led by Ji Yufei, they directly charged out of the open sea and clashed with the Marine Race Army on a plain at the bottom of the sea. However, the Marine Race Army was quickly defeated. The reason was simple. It wasn't because the human race's pirate army was strong, but because the West Sea Dragon race's commander was defeated by Ji Yufei with a single punch. Ji Yufei's punch landed on Ao Lei's face, and Ao Lei's expression instantly changed as if he had seen a die house. It was incomparably fascinating. After that, there was no more after that. The West Sea Dragon race army was directly defeated by the human race army. They trampled on each other, and there were countless casualties. Boom! The human race's Thunder Dao Paragon made a move, summoning the 9 heavens divine lightning. 9 balls of lightning descended from the sky, directly breaking through the West Sea's surface and blasting the plain at the bottom of the sea. The entire plain at the bottom of the sea boiled. Countless marine race soldiers were instantly struck by the lightning balls and turned into ashes amidst the boundless lightning. This attack directly left 9 huge pits on the plain at the bottom of the sea. The human race's extreme Dao Paragons joined forces and opened up the entire sea. Endless seawater parted in all directions, and everywhere the human army passed, countless marine race corpses were left on the ground. Originally, the marine race's physique was much stronger than the human race's, because the prawn soldiers and crab generals had tough armor on their bodies. Their defense was much stronger than the human race's. Moreover, some of the marine race's bodies were incomparably huge. For example, the Chaos Whale's descendant, the Overlord Whale, could open its mouth and swallow an extreme Dao Paragon into its stomach. It could swallow millions of soldiers in one gulp. However, before this Overlord Whale could even open its mouth was smashed by Ji Yufei with a slap. F***CK, don't you know who our boss is? Is he someone you can eat? A short and fat fellow with the body of a child cursed as he charged forward and directly chopped off the Overlord Whale's head that was even larger than a mountain. This sea beast was also at the extreme Dao level. Unfortunately, it had encountered Ji Yufei, so it was destined to meet a tragic end. The skinny fellow was very ferocious. He actually directly sucked the entire Overlord Whale's essence blood clean. He did not even let the big fellow's soul go. Old Monster Situ, your heaven-devouring technique of mixed elements has become much more powerful. Hihi, seeing how much you've absorbed, you're still the same. You haven't grown up at all. The little bean is so fierce. The human race's extreme-grade supreme beings roared with laughter. I walk the world with my true face, unlike all of you. All of you either act like sages or have the aura of a bastard. None of you are the original goods. Old Monster Situ scolded angrily. Old Monster Situ's mouth is still as stinky as ever. He ate a lot and didn't brush his teeth, so naturally his mouth stinks. Look, he ate such a big Overlord Whale. Everyone started to tease Old Monster Situ again. Damn it, you bunch of old bastards still have the nerve to talk about me. Your table manners are much uglier than mine. These extreme-grade supreme beings were all devouring the essence chi of other living beings. The Thunder Dao Supreme Being opened his mouth and inhaled. Wisps of essence chi rushed out of the dead Marine clan corpses and were all devoured by him. The other extreme-grade supreme beings did the same. It belongs to whoever killed it. It's up to your own ability. Very good. The 4 extreme-grade supreme beings directly attacked the defeated West Sea Dragon race army. In an instant, the Marine clan suffered even more casualties. These were 4 extreme-grade supreme beings who were even more devilish than demons. Ji Yufei no longer attacked. He was on guard against the opponent's Eternal Realm experts. Although the West Sea Dragon race only had 1 Eternal Realm expert, the West Sea Dragon race was so big. There were definitely other Eternal Realms present. The West Sea Dragon race and the Marquis of the West Sea were definitely not the only Eternal Realm experts. It was hard to guarantee that no other Eternal Realm experts had joined the West Sea Dragon race or allied with the West Sea Dragon race. With Gu Fei's current cultivation base, as long as he didn't encounter a freakish Eternal Realm expert like the West Sea Dragon race, he wouldn't be afraid. If he encountered a freak like the West Sea Dragon race, he wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. If he encountered other Eternal Realm experts, even if he couldn't beat them, he could still escape. At the same time, Gu Fei was still staring at Ao Lei. He and the Marquis of the West Sea had long received news that the West Sea Dragon race had sealed off their ancestral land. No one knew where their ancestral land was. Gu Fei wanted to see where Ao Lei would escape to. When this guy reached a dead end and had nowhere to go, he would definitely escape to his ancestral land to save his life. That way, he might be able to find the ancestral land of the West Sea Dragon race. Therefore, Gu Fei transmitted a message to his 4 extreme grade supreme beings, telling them not to harm Ao Lei's life and to let him escape. Ao Lei didn't care so much. Gu Fei's previous punch had already scared him out of his wits. Just as the West Sea Dragon race army was about to be annihilated, shocking battle cries suddenly came from the horizon. Countless figures of the oceanic tribe emerged on the horizon. Rumble, one overlord whale after another leaped out of the sea and smashed down like a mountain, creating endless splashes. Haha, seeing this scene, Ao Lei, who had been running for his life, immediately rushed toward the oceanic tribe army that had suddenly appeared. Standing high in the sky, Gu Fei couldn't help but frown when he saw this scene. This time, the oceanic tribe army that had suddenly appeared was overwhelming. There were just too many of them. Haha, let's kill to our heart's content today. The 4 extreme grade supreme beings on Gu Fei's side also laughed loudly. However, this time, Gu Fei wasn't so optimistic, because he sensed 3 powerful auras, especially those overlord whales. There were actually 6 of them, and each one was at the extreme grade supreme being level. Soon, the faces of Old Monster Situ and the others changed. Who said just now that we're killing to our heart's content? Old Monster Situ shouted. The other extreme grade supreme beings looked embarrassed. They had been slapped in the face. What goes around comes around. Now, it was probably their turn to run for their lives. However, they didn't dare to move, because their boss, Gu Fei, hadn't moved yet. This boss was very powerful. He could beat them all to the ground with one hand and torture them to death. Even the fiercest Old Monster Situ didn't dare to run now. Although the oceanic tribe army was terrifying, in his opinion, Gu Fei was equally terrifying. At this time, the oceanic tribe army that had suddenly appeared had already arrived. In the sky and the sea, there were countless figures of sea beasts everywhere. A general, riding a sea dragon, rushed to the forefront of the oceanic tribe army. This guy was wearing battle armor and holding a trident. He split the water channel and directly killed his way to the human race army. Countless humans were frightened when they saw this scene. Half-Step Eternal Realm. Chapter 4765. The Sea Clan army under the command of the West Sea Dragon Clan also arrived, which made Gu Fei happy. His cultivation had reached a bottleneck, and he only needed one more step to step into the Half-Step Eternal Realm. Devouring ordinary essence chi wouldn't help his cultivation much, but the essence chi of a half-step Eternal Realm creature was different. For him, this was an immortal divine medicine. In fact, Extreme Tao Supremes were known to be immortal. If an Extreme Tao Supreme hid in a remote place and didn't show up, they could theoretically live until the end of the world. Therefore, the reason why Extreme Tao Supremes died was because they courted death. The reason was simple. If they didn't court death, they wouldn't die. The same was true for half-step Eternal Realm creatures. They were stronger than Extreme Tao Supremes and had touched the edge of the Eternal Realm. However, this peerless half-step Eternal Realm sea monster didn't know that he was going to die today, and he would die miserably. Gu Fei was a little curious. If this guy knew that he was going to die, would he still lead the Sea Clan army to kill him? Anyone who dares to offend the West Sea Dragon prestige will die. The peerless sea monster roared, and the terrifying sound waves seemed to explode the void. Many of the surrounding Sea Clan members were shaken to the ground. This peerless sea monster didn't look very good. He had already transformed into a human form, with muscles all over his body. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and he held a trident in his hand. He was riding on a sea dragon as huge as a mountain ridge, riding the wind and breaking the waves. If he appeared in a human city, he would inevitably cause countless screams. "Boss, this." The expressions of Old Monster Situ and the others changed drastically. This guy hadn't even reached them yet, but the terrifying pressure that covered the sky and covered the earth was already pressing down on them to the point of suffocation. Not only Old Monster Situ, but even the other extreme Dao experts also wanted to retreat. Not to mention the other extreme Dao experts in the Sea Clan army, just this half-step Eternal Realm guy alone could kill them all. TCH, what West Sea Dragon prestige. Jiu Fei didn't even bother to say anything. He just threw a punch at the half-step Eternal Realm guy who was rushing towards him. Boom, the next moment, the entire sea surface was split in half by his fist force. Splitting the sea with a single punch, this scene was extremely shocking. Even the 4 extreme grade supremes behind Jiu Fei were dumbfounded. What? The general of the West Sea Dragon clan who was leading the army was shocked. He raised the trident in his hand, and in the next moment, a beam of light shot out from the trident. Boom! The two forces collided with each other in an instant, and the resulting shockwaves spread out in all directions. A huge waterless space appeared on the surface of the sponge. Seeing such a scene, the Sea Tribe army that was charging over like a tidal wave immediately stopped. Countless Sea Tribe soldiers were terrified. "All right," the Sea Race general roared. His roar was like a clap of thunder, causing everyone's ears to ring. Good my ass. It was rare for Jiu Fei to run into a decent opponent, so he took a step forward. This was a technique he had created back when he was in the Eternal Stratum. It was called Heaven Treading Steps. He instantly appeared in the sky above the sea dragon standing on top of the general and stomped his foot down. Rumble. As soon as Jiu Fei's foot landed, the entire world shook. Kill. The general roared. He switched the trident to his left hand, and then punched out with his right fist. The violent fist force brought endless seawater with it. This was the pure power of water that was attracted by this peerless sea tribe great demon, and it madly gathered towards him. Half-step Eternal Realm. With a single thought, the whole world seemed to be bursting with water spiritual energy. All living beings retreated in fear. Boom! The fist and the foot collided. This time, the energy fluctuations that erupted were several times stronger and more violent than the previous time. The sea within a radius of thousands of miles turned into a vacuum. Even the seabed at the bottom of the sea was exposed. A small number of Sea Tribe soldiers who were relatively close were affected and directly torn to pieces by the violent energy storm. The extreme grade supremes of the Sea Tribe hurriedly joined hands to block the mighty and terrifying storm. In front of the human army on Jiu Fei's side, Old Monster Situ and the other 3 human race supremes also joined hands to form a shield, enveloping the human army. In fact, in a battle of this level, it was meaningless to compete in numbers. If it weren't for this peerless Sea Tribe great demon blocking Jiu Fei alone could have wiped out this endless Sea Tribe army. It was actually very simple to decide the outcome of a battle. All they needed to do was kill the leader of the other side. Therefore, both the human army and the Sea Tribe army were watching the battle. Boom! At this time, the Sea Tribe great demon and the sea dragon under his feet directly smashed into the seabed, causing the entire seabed to shake violently. And Jiu Fei was also sent flying high into the sky by the other side's punch. How is this possible? The peerless Sea Tribe great demon roared and soared into the sky from the seabed. He stared at the human in the sky in disbelief. The other party's cultivation was only at the extreme grade realm. How could he block his punch? One had to know that an existence at the half-step Eternal Realm could easily bully an extreme grade supremacy. The peerless Sea Tribe great demon could slap an ordinary extreme grade supremacy to death with a single slap. The battle prowess displayed by Jiu Fei had already exceeded the Sea Tribe great demon's understanding. In front of me, nothing is impossible, Jiu Fei said and took another step forward. Again. When the peerless sea tribe great demon saw Jiu Fei take another step, he immediately lost his composure. However, although he knew what would happen in the next moment, he couldn't avoid it. Because Jiu Fei's speed was too fast, so fast that even a half-step eternal existence like him couldn't avoid it. Boom! The peerless sea tribe great demon was trampled down from the sky by Jiu Fei's foot and smashed into the seabed again. At this time, everyone who saw this scene was dumbfounded. Boss really isn't just any ordinary kind of awesome. He's simply too awesome. Old Monster Situ was speechless. The four supremacies of the human race were all ruthless characters. They obeyed Marquis West Sea because he was an eternal sovereign. It wasn't a big deal for them to obey someone stronger than them. When Marquis West Sea asked them to obey Jiu Fei, the four of them immediately objected. They were all extreme grade supremacies, so why should they listen to him and be ordered around by him? Then, Jiu Fei challenged the four of them alone. And then, there was no then. Even if the four of them joined forces, they were still beaten up by Jiu Fei. Especially Old Monster Situ, who was pinned to the ground by Jiu Fei. Naturally, these fellows behaved themselves. But now, when they saw Jiu Fei suppress the peerless sea tribe great demon at the half-step eternal realm, they were really scared. Chapter 4766. Above the outer West Sea, the human clan army and the sea clan army were confronting each other. Both camps were watching and waiting for the result of the battle between Jiu Fei and the peerless sea demon Aog. On the human clan side, there were only 4 extreme grade supremes, including Old Monster Situ. However, there were 13 extreme grade supremes in the sea clan army. It could be said that the sea clan army had the absolute upper hand. Once the battle started, they could be directly defeated by the other party at any time. The sea clan army did not dare to act rashly. At this time, Jiu Fei was fighting the peerless sea demon. They fought from the ground to the sky, and then into the star field. In the battle in the starry sky, both Jiu Fei and the peerless sea demon were no longer restrained. They fought with all their strength and were evenly matched. But soon, the peerless sea demon Aog was defeated. Jiu Fei blasted out a punch and directly blasted the sea dragon under the peerless sea demon into a cloud of blood mist. His body and soul were instantly destroyed. Seeing that his mount was killed, Aog was shocked and angry. His eyes turned red, and he directly attacked Jiu Fei. So what if I'm angry? Jiu Fei sneered. He punched out again and again. His attacks did not seem fast, but no one expected him to block Aog's crazy attack. Well, I don't want to play anymore, Jiu Fei said and changed his fist technique. He directly displayed the extreme breaking fist. Boom. As soon as the extreme breaking fist was unleashed, Aog was directly blown away. How is this possible? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. This guy had been fighting for so long, yet he still had strength to spare. Without any suspense, Jiu Fei completely defeated Aog. He directly stepped on this guy from the starry sky and directly smashed a huge pit on the ground. The peerless sea demon's body was torn apart, and the blood of a half-step eternal realm expert dyed the entire seabed red. A ball of resplendent demonic light wrapped around a tiny figure as it soared into the sky. Within the demonic light, the tiny figure was terrified to the extreme. It was the primordial spirit of a peerless sea monster. Jiu Fei directly opened his mouth and inhaled. The ball of demonic light that enveloped the peerless sea monster's soul was directly swallowed by him. He even licked his lips as if he had not had enough. Haha, boss is mighty. Boss is mighty. Old Monster Situ and the others were pleasantly surprised when they saw this scene. At this moment, Jiu Fei made a grabbing motion with his right hand. A fist-sized inner core flew up from the seabed and was caught by him. After Jiu Fei came to the West Sea, he realized that the cultivation methods of the sea demons here were different. Not only did they cultivate their essence souls, but they also cultivated their inner cores. They had 2 essence souls. He took a closer look and saw that there was a faint shadow inside the inner core. He could sense that there was a life being nurtured inside the inner core. As long as this inner core was not refined, this peerless sea demon had hope of being reborn. However, It was a pity that this fellow met Ji Yufei. He was destined to be a tragedy. Under everyone's gaze, Ji Yufei actually ate the inner elixir. Everyone could not believe it. This Ji Yufei was too crazy. A inner core was not something that could be eaten casually. If one was not careful, one could be possessed by the inner core. In this way, the peerless sea demon would quickly rise again and return to its peak. Just when everyone was dumbfounded, another powerful aura suddenly erupted from Ji Yufei's body. "Ha, stupid human, I want this body of yours." A shadow emerged from Ji Yufei's body. What I was afraid of really happened. That's the inner core of a half-step eternal expert. Can it be eaten casually? The legs of old monster Situ and the others trembled. They were scared out of their wits. They almost ran for their lives. Once Ji Yufei's soul was devoured by this peerless sea demon Aog and his body was refined, they would be dead meat. Let's run. The 4 extreme Taoists of the human clan secretly communicated with their divine will. Let's wait and see. Celestial Master Thunderous, one of the 4 extreme Taoists, stared at Ji Yufei in the distance and said in a deep voice. Celestial Master Thunderous was a super antique who had lived for countless years. His cultivation had reached the peak of the extreme Daoist, and he was only 1 step away from breaking through to the half-step eternal realm. However, it was precisely this 1 step that had troubled him for countless years. He had never been able to find the opportunity to take this step, and this caused him to be extremely depressed. This peerless sea demon Aog had reached the Tao tens of thousands of years later than him, but this guy had already broken through to the half-step eternal realm. The reason why Celestial Master Thunderous turned to the Marquis of the West Sea was to take this crucial step. Since Celestial Master Thunderous had spoken, naturally no one dared to say no. Even the unruly old monster Situ had to behave in front of Celestial Master Thunderous. Which of the 4 extreme Taoists of the West Sea had not been beaten by Celestial Master Thunderous? Celestial Master Thunderous' prestige among the human clan of the West Sea was second only to the Marquis of the West Sea. Although old monster Situ and the others wanted nothing more than to run for their lives, with Celestial Master Thunderous around, they really did not dare to do so. At this time, Ao Lei, who had taken over Aog's position as the commander of the Sea Clan army, was about to lead the army to flee. However, when he saw Ji Yufei's situation, he decided not to run. "Haha, very good." Ao Lei laughed. Aog had a chance to turn defeat into victory, and the chance was very big. Although this human was strong, he should not have swallowed Aog's spirit and then swallowed Aog's inner core. There was an inseparable connection between the spirit and the inner core. Once the spirit and the inner core fused, it would erupt with unimaginable power. In Ao Lei's opinion, this human was simply courting death. Aog was at least 70% sure that he could swallow this human spirit and seize his body. "You want to swallow my spirit? You think too much." Ji Yufei smiled and sat down in the void. A moment later, the power of the 2 spirit essences surged and clashed in his body. Using his body as a battlefield, they started fighting. As a result, Ji Yufei's physical body was suffering. However, his physical body was a true eternal body, so it was impossible for it to suffer too much damage. When the 2 powers collided in his body, it was inevitable that his internal organs would be affected. "What? You are an eternal being?" Very soon, Aog felt that something was wrong. The body of an extreme-level expert could not possibly withstand the power of a half-step eternal being. Hence, Aog was terrified. This guy had been pretending to be weak all along. Aog almost went crazy at the thought of this. He desperately wanted to rush out of Ji Yufei's body. However, Ji Yufei had already sealed his eternal body. His eternal body had now become a prison for Aog. No matter how much Aog tried, he could not break out of this prison. "Ha. Be obedient and let me refine you." Chapter 4767. Eternal World, Celestial Continent, above the Outer West Sea, Ji Yufei was fighting against the half-step eternal realm peerless sea monster Aog. Aog was naturally no match for Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei brutally crushed him. In the end, Ji Yufei stomped him to the seabed, and his peerless sea monster body was torn apart. Of course, it was definitely not an easy task to kill an existence like the peerless sea monster that had already surpassed the extreme grade. However, who was Gu Fei? It was not as if he had never killed an eternal realm existence before. Moreover, this guy was just a half-step eternal realm existence. At this time, Gu Fei used his own body as a cage, trapping the peerless sea monster Aog's primordial spirit inside his body, and then refining it. Damn it, you want to refine me? Dream on. Aog's primordial spirit struggled inside Gu Fei's body, but it could not break out. That was because Gu Fei's martial body was a genuine eternal martial body. Once he sealed his martial body, the peerless sea monster's primordial spirit trapped inside his martial body would not be able to escape, unless Gu Fei showed mercy and let him go. However, that was impossible. For Gu Fei, the peerless sea monster Aog's primordial spirit was more useful than immortal medicine. After refining this peerless sea monster, Gu Fei's cultivation would most likely recover to the half-step eternal realm. Therefore, Gu Fei could not let this guy go. This is not a dream. I used to be an eternal one. Do you think you can beat me? Gu Fei was very happy. At this time, his primordial spirit punched again and shattered the other's primordial spirit. However, the peerless sea monster's primordial spirit instantly reassembled and recovered. However, although this guy's primordial spirit could be reassembled, the power of his primordial spirit was constantly weakening. Aog was horrified to find that the other party's body was automatically absorbing the power of his primordial spirit, which was definitely not a good thing for him. Although the other party's body only absorbed a small part of his primordial spirit, the power of his primordial spirit was actually weakening. His opponent could exhaust him to death. The peerless sea monster Aog was anxious. Break. The primordial spirit of the peerless sea monster roared and turned into a battle spear that pierced through Gu Fei's martial body. The primordial spirit battle spear fiercely collided with Gu Fei's eternal martial body, but it instantly collapsed and turned into specks of primordial spirit light. A small portion of the essence soul light was directly devoured by Gu Fei's martial body. Most of the essence soul light gathered again, turning into the peerless sea demon. How tragic. At this time, the peerless sea monster was finally moved. I'll take my time with you. After saying that, Gu Fei's primordial spirit actually returned to the Niwen Palace between his eyebrows. He was not going to play with this fellow anymore. Damn it. The peerless sea demon was infuriated, but there was nothing he could do. The consequences of making a mistake were very serious. The peerless sea monster originally wanted to devour Gu Fei's primordial spirit and occupy Gu Fei's body to be reborn. However, he never expected that Gu Fei was once an eternal being and that his body was actually an eternal Dao body. Then, this exceptionally intelligent and peerless sea monster met a tragedy. You four idiots, what are you waiting for? Are you watching a show? Hurry up and kill these guys for me. Gu Fei roared at the four extreme grade sovereigns under him. Boss is the boss. He actually refined Aog. Old Monster Situ and the others were all surprised and delighted. Set up the Heaven Punishment Formation, Extreme Heavenly Lord Thunderclap roared, and the countless human race soldiers behind him immediately moved. Huge flags with murderous intent rose from the army, and an extremely terrifying aura erupted. As the countless soldiers moved quickly, a killing formation that could even destroy the heavens appeared between heaven and earth. Don't panic. That guy definitely can't refine old ancestor Aog. Ao Lei roared angrily. Set up the all-destructive formation, Ao Lei ordered. The West Sea Dragon Clan's super battle formation was called the all-destructive formation. No matter what it was, as long as it was alive, as long as it broke into the all-destructive formation, it would only end up with one end: destruction of both body and soul. The West Sea Dragon Clan had relied on this battle formation to dominate the West Sea and become the #1 force in the West Sea. Even the Eternal Divine Dynasty and Marquis West Sea of West Spirit Island were suppressed by the Dragon Clan of the Four Seas, which made Marquis West Sea very depressed. Kill. Extreme Heavenly Lord Thunderclap ordered. The Heaven Punishment Formation that the human race army had set up was immediately activated, and then directly obliterated the enemy. Wherever it passed, the void trembled. Kill. AOG also controlled the all-destructive formation and met the human race's killing formation head-on. Boom. The two killing formations collided in an instant. Then, countless human soldiers and oceanic soldiers were instantly turned into a mist of blood, their bodies and souls destroyed in an instant. This was a battle between killing formations. The two killing formations kept colliding and obliterating each other. The direct result was the destruction of the bodies and souls of countless living beings. In the eternal world, the strong preyed on the weak. There was no room for mercy. Merciful people were not suited to survive in the eternal world. Sooner or later, they would be devoured by others. In the eternal world, if one wanted to survive, one had to be ruthless. Therefore, both camps were fighting with all their might. However, there were more than a dozen extreme grade supremes in the Oceanic Race Army. In this way, the power of the Oceanic Race's peerless killing formation was naturally stronger. Soon, the human race could not hold on any longer. "Boss, we can't hold on any longer," Old Monster Situ shouted at Gu Fei. "What a bunch of F***king trash." Gu Fei cursed and attacked. His palm blasted toward the Oceanic Race's great formation. Boom. Violent power erupted and shook the all-extermination killing formation of the Oceanic Race. Countless members of the Oceanic Race were shattered within the killing formation and turned into a mist of blood. Although Gu Fei could attack, there was a scourge within his body. The primordial spirit of the peerless Oceanic Race was still there. Extreme breaking fists. Gu Fei gritted his teeth and unleashed an eternal technique. Rumble. An earth-shaking fist force erupted from Gu Fei's fist. With just one strike, it broke the Oceanic Race's killing formation and killed countless members of the Oceanic Race. The Oceanic Race's killing formation was actually formed by countless soldiers of the Oceanic Race. Once the soldiers suffered heavy casualties, the power of the killing formation would constantly weaken. Kill, kill, kill. The eyes of the four human race supremes turned red. They controlled the Heaven Punishment formation and charged into the enemy's all-extermination killing formation. They went on a rampage and killed until blood flowed like a river. Countless corpses lay on the ground as they mercilessly reaped countless lives. When Ao Lei saw that he was about to be defeated, he actually slipped away again and directly slipped away. At the same time, the Marquis of the West Sea personally led another human race army to kill their way to an ancient city at the bottom of the sea and surrounded it. Chapter 4768. The West Sea Dragon City was an extremely ancient underwater dragon city of the West Sea Dragon tribe. This place actually had another name, the West Sea Dragon Palace. Although it was an ancient city, the entire seabed was filled with palaces and pavilions. There were no tall city walls, but a huge light barrier enveloped the entire underwater city. There was not a single drop of water inside the light barrier. The entire light barrier blocked the endless seawater outside. The inside was neither humid nor dry. There were even figures of the human race here, and there were underwater plants everywhere. A ball of divine light hung in the sky above the city. It was this sun-like ball of divine light that illuminated the entire West Sea Dragon City and the area around it. At this moment, countless human armies arrived outside the ancient city of the West Sea Dragon tribe. The person leading this army was the Marquis of the West Sea. Marquis of the West Sea, what are you trying to do? Just as the Marquis of the West Sea soldiers surrounded the West Sea Dragon City, an old man holding a walking stick walked out of the city. There were two ancestral dragon horns on his forehead. At first glance, this old man did not emit any aura that a cultivator should have. However, even the Marquis of the West Sea didn't dare to underestimate this old man. This was because this old man was the city lord of the West Sea Dragon City, Ao Taishu. At the same time, he was also an extremely senior elder of the West Sea Dragon tribe. The other members of the West Sea Dragon tribe had already hidden in the ancestral land, but he remained in the West Sea Dragon City. He wanted to live and die with the West Sea Dragon City. There were not many members of the West Sea Dragon tribe who stayed with Ao Taishu. However, they were all pro-war and would fight to the death with the Marquis of the West Sea. Haha, Ao Taishu, I think you should surrender obediently. This way, you can protect the lives of all the creatures in the West Sea Dragon City." The Marquis of the West Sea laughed. "If you want to fight, then fight. You want us to surrender? In your dreams." Right at this moment, a furious roar resounded from within the Dragon City of the West Ocean. After that, countless figures charged out from within the city. It was an army of the oceanic race, and they formed a dense mass that blotted out the sky above the Dragon City. This oceanic tribe army was definitely no less than 1,000,000 people. A towering murderous aura instantly filled every inch of the void. The marine race army rose into the sky and confronted the Marquis's army. Leading the Sea Clan army were 3 West Sea Dragon Clan powerhouses who were wearing battle armor and holding Dao artifacts. Each of them was at the extreme grade realm. West Sea Dragon City's city lord Ao Taishu was a half-step eternal existence. "Ha! What a joke. Do you think you can stop me?" The Marquis of West Sea laughed. He was an eternal, a true eternal. To put it bluntly, he could kill Ao Taishu, a half-step eternal fellow, with a single slap. As for the other sea folk, Marquis West Sea could annihilate them with a flick of his finger. Could it be that this Ao Taishu is stupid? He actually dares to fight with me? Ancestral sacrifice artifact. Ao Taishu suddenly roared furiously. In the next moment, an earth-shattering dragon roar suddenly resounded from the West Sea Dragon City, and then a figure charged out from within the city. Powerful eternal-level power fluctuations erupted from this figure. The Marquis of West Sea was taken aback. As the figure approached, it turned out to be a humanoid figure covered in a layer of black metal. Only power, no life imprint. The Marquis of West Sea was even more shocked. "Marquis of West Sea, to be able to die under the ancestral artifact of my clan's progenitor, your life has not been in vain." Ao Taishu stared at the Marquis of West Sea and said, "Boom." Before the Marquis of West Sea could speak, Ao Taishu's body exploded and turned into a bloody mist. This bloody mist directly enveloped the humanoid figure. The bloody mist strangely seeped into the humanoid ancestral artifact. Buzz. The humanoid ancestral artifact suddenly shook. Then, 2 bloody lights shot out from its pupils. This humanoid ancestral artifact seemed to have awakened its spiritual wisdom. Clan Elder, the 3 Dragon Clan powerhouses were filled with grief and indignation. Although this ancestral artifact was powerful, it had a fatal flaw. In order to use it, one had to perform a blood sacrifice. And after the blood sacrifice, the person who performed the blood sacrifice was doomed. Ao Taishu was doomed. But before he died, he had obtained a powerful eternal power. This way, he would have a chance to kill the Marquis of West Sea in a certain amount of time. While Ao Taishu was using the ancestral Dao tool, in the outer sea of the West Sea, another human army led by Jiyu Fei formed the Heaven-Punishing Formation and destroyed the all-exterminating formation of the Sea Clan of the West Sea. As soon as Ao Taishu saw that the situation was turning for the worse, he immediately slipped away, leaving countless members of the Western Sea to fend for themselves. "Haha, you're actually risking your lives for this guy? How laughable." Empyrean Thunder Peak laughed heartily as he attacked. Countless members of the Western Sea collapsed under his hands. Countless strands of essence energy gathered towards him and were directly devoured by him. "We are willing to surrender." A member of the Western Sea roared in terror. "Surrender. It's too late." The 4 human supremes were already in a killing frenzy, and there was no way they would stop. Moreover, the essence energy of the Western Sea tribe was more useful to them than any immortal divine medicine. There was no suspense. Even though the Western Sea tribe had more than a dozen extreme-grade life forms, they were still not enough, because Jiyu Fei could kill them all by himself. The extreme-grade life forms of the Western Sea tribe were also fleeing for their lives. Of the 6 extreme-grade overlord whales, 2 escaped, and 4 died in battle. Blood stained the sky and the earth, and the smell of blood was pungent. A few other extreme-grade life forms of the Western Sea tribe also escaped, and the rest died in battle. The army led by Jiyu Fei achieved a complete victory. Soon, the remaining Western Sea tribe were all killed. This battle had a profound impact on the future situation of the West Sea. It directly caused the strength of the Western Sea tribe to plummet, and the Western Sea tribe began to decline from its peak. After receiving the news, the Eternal Divine Dynasty also sent an army into the West Sea and occupied many of the territories that belonged to the Western Sea Dragon tribe. Whether or not Marquis Westsea could destroy the entire Western Sea Dragon tribe, the humans would be the main characters of the West Sea from now on. At this time, Gu Fei was also gradually refining Aog's primordial spirit in his body. No one dared to disturb him. The human soldiers began to clean up the battlefield. Some of the Dao weapons used by the Western Sea tribe were not bad, so the humans who cleaned up the battlefield could at least make a small profit. Just as Gu Fei was refining Aog's primordial spirit in his body, Marquis Westsea and the ancestral Dao weapon of the Western Sea Dragon tribe were engaged in a fierce battle. So powerful. Marquis Westsea was extremely shocked. The ancestral Dao weapon of the Western Sea Dragon tribe was indeed powerful, and could not be underestimated. Chapter 4769. The West Sea Dragon clan actually left an ancestral weapon in the West Sea Dragon city. At the critical moment of life and death, the West Sea Dragon clan's clan elder Ao Taishu paid the price of his life to fully activate the power of the ancestral weapon. His essence, spirit, flesh, and blood were all devoured by this ancestral weapon. He used his immortal divine sense to control this ancestral weapon and directly fought with Marquis Westsea. The West Sea Dragon clan's ancestral weapon in human form was actually a battle avatar, and an eternal level battle avatar at that. It was definitely not easy to use this eternal level battle avatar. Moreover, once one used their own blood essence to activate this battle avatar, there was only one end for them, and that was the destruction of both body and soul. This was the price. Therefore, after this battle, whether he won or lost, Ao Taishu was doomed. He naturally wanted to drag Marquis Westsea down with him. But who was Marquis Westsea? He was an eternal sovereign. Wanting to kill him was definitely not an easy task. Boom! Bang! The dull sound of collision shook heaven and earth. Two figures moved rapidly in the void, constantly colliding, causing the void to tremble. If it weren't for the light shield covering the entire West Sea Dragon city, just the aura that erupted from these two powerhouses would be enough to annihilate all the living beings in the West Sea Dragon city. At this time, Marquis Westsea's army had already retreated far away, while the Sea Race army hid behind the light shield. Even so, whether it was the humans or the Sea Race, they were all trembling with fear. This battle concerned the survival of the West Sea Dragon city. Whether it was Ao Taishu or the other dragons, they were all unafraid of death. They were determined to perish together with the invading enemy. Just as Marquis Westsea battled Ao Taishu, in the West Sea, above the outer sea, a figure sat cross-legged in the void, inhaling and exhaling the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. One after another, Dao patterns appeared and intertwined on Gu Fei's body, and then dissipated into the void. This cycle never stopped. In the void, there seemed to be the sound of the great Dao lingering around. When the four extreme Dao Supremes saw this scene from afar, they couldn't help but feel envious and jealous. This Gu Fei was trying to break through to the half-step eternal realm. Once he succeeded, he would become much stronger. The four Supremes of the human race would never be able to surpass Gu Fei. Gu Fei had devoured a lot of eternal level power. His cultivation had long reached a bottleneck. At this time, his Dao was recovering. In less than half a day, Gu Fei felt as if something in his body had been broken. Then, he felt as if the clouds had parted and he could see the blue sky. His essence, qi, and spirit had all reached a higher realm. At the same time, a terrifying aura burst from his body. The great path rumbled as if it was about to descend. Finally, Gu Fei let out a long sigh of relief. He was very excited. His cultivation had finally broken through to the half-step eternal realm. He was completely different now. At this moment, he felt the restrictive spell that the mysterious woman had planted on him back in the Hidden Dragon Mountains. Break for me. Gu Fei didn't hesitate and directly obliterated the restrictive spell. He didn't want to be controlled by others. In the distant Leiju, The mysterious woman who was looking for trouble with the Thunder Dao ancestor suddenly sensed something, but then the feeling disappeared. Good heavens, he actually obliterated my restrictive spell? The mysterious woman was also helpless. She was now very far away from the West Sea of the celestial continent. That guy got lucky. The mysterious woman was still looking for the Thunder Dao ancestor to settle the score. Let's go find Marquis of the West Sea. Jiyu Fei stood up from the void and then called out to the 4 extreme Dao Supremes. At this time, the human race army had already cleaned up the battlefield, and then the 4 extreme Dao Supremes took them into their inner worlds. Congratulations on reaching the half-step eternal realm, boss. Congratulations on your great cultivation progress, boss. Old Freak Situ and the others hurried forward to congratulate him. Okay, let's go. Jiyu Fei said and directly rushed in the direction of the West Sea Dragon City, soon disappearing at the end of the horizon. Swoosh. At this time, in the sky above the West Sea Dragon City, a destructive saber light rushed out from the hands of the Marquis of West Sea. The saber light instantly soared for thousands of miles, ruthlessly slashing towards the humanoid battle avatar. Clang. The divine saber in the hands of the Marquis of West Sea ruthlessly struck the battle avatar. However, in the next moment, the Marquis of West Sea's expression changed greatly. He saw that his saber had struck the opponent, but the opponent was only sent flying. The place where the saber struck was not even left a mark. What material is this battle avatar made of? The Marquis of West Sea was incomparably shocked. This was simply an enemy that couldn't be killed. This made the Marquis of West Sea feel like he didn't know where to start. Again, the Marquis of West Sea roared. The divine saber in his hands seemed to have come to life, slashing towards the battle avatar again. The result was the same. This battle avatar left behind by the dragon race's ancestor was truly very strong. It actually seemed to have no flaws at all. Race Elder, when the experts of the dragon race in the West Sea Dragon City saw the scene in the sky, they felt a mixture of grief and anger. This was a race elder using his life to fight against the invading enemy, just when Marquis of West Sea was at a loss of what to do and was flustered by the eternal level battle avatar, a figure suddenly descended from the sky. It's you. You came just in time. Let's join forces and kill him. When Marquis of West Sea saw who it was, he immediately became overjoyed. The person who descended from the sky was none other than Jiyu Fei. Hey, your cultivation. Marquis of West Sea was taken aback, and then stared at Jiyu Fei. Half-step eternal, this guy actually cultivated to the half-step eternal realm. How long has it been? Marquis of West Sea was truly frightened by Jiyu Fei. This guy's cultivation speed was simply unimaginable. What's going on? Jiyu Fei glanced at Marquis of West Sea and said, "Kill." The battle avatar suddenly rushed towards Jiyu Fei. Courting death. Jiyu Fei didn't even think and directly punched out. Boom. The 2 fists collided in an instant, and an earth-shattering sound erupted. 2 tyrannical forces erupted, and the 2 figures were sent flying back. Battle avatar? And an eternal level one at that. Jiyu Fei was extremely shocked, but then he went crazy. This battle avatar was not bad. If he could refine it, wouldn't he have another trump card? However, this battle avatar seemed to have an owner. Kill. Jiyu Fei didn't care about dodging anymore and directly rushed forward. His cultivation had just broken through to the half-step eternal realm, and he needed a big battle to consolidate his cultivation. However, Ao Taishu, who was possessing the battle avatar, was extremely depressed. One Marquis of West Sea was already hard enough to deal with, and now there was another freak. How could he fight them? It seemed that West Sea Dragon City was about to fall. Hurry up, don't sacrifice yourself in vain. Ao Taishu directly sent a sound transmission to the dragon inside the light shield. No. Chapter 4770. After refining the essence spirit of AOG, a half-step eternal expert, Jiyu Fei's cultivation finally broke through to the half-step eternal realm. After breaking through, he immediately rushed to West Sea Dragon City and met up with Marquis West Sea. They joined forces to fight the eternal level battle avatar. Marquis West Sea couldn't even deal with him, And now, Jiyu Fei had arrived. Ao Taishu, the West Sea Dragon Clan elder who was attached to the Eternal War puppet, immediately felt a great deal of pressure. Let's go, I can't hold on much longer. Ao Taishu's anxious divine sense came from the Eternal Battle puppet. Clan elder, under the protection of the light barrier, the two West Sea Dragon race generals were shocked, angry, and sad at the same time. Their West Sea Dragon race dominated the West Sea. Who would dare to attack them? Yet now, not only had the enemy come knocking on their door, but their Western Sea Dragon clan was also no match for the enemy. The only thing they could do was flee for their lives. This was really too sad. However, Jiyu Fei and Marquis of the West Sea didn't care that much. Their priority was to conquer the West Sea Dragon City. As long as they conquered the West Sea Dragon City, it would mean that the West Sea Dragon clan's influence in the West Sea would completely collapse. From then on, the West Sea Dragon clan would become a thing of the past. Moreover, after defeating the West Sea Dragon clan, Marquis West Sea's West Spirit Island would practically dominate the West Sea. In the past, the Marquis of West Sea wouldn't even have dared to dream of dominating the West Sea. But now, his dream was about to come true. Marquis West Sea was very grateful to Jiyu Fei. If it weren't for Jiyu Fei, he wouldn't have dared to take the first step to conquer the West Sea. Trying to escape, Jiyu Fei and Marquis of the West Sea attacked fiercely, forcing the Eternal Battle puppet to retreat continuously. However, it stubbornly stood in front of the light barrier, unwilling to give way no matter what. Clan elder, the two experts of the West Sea Dragon clan were on the verge of tears. Let's go. I'm just a bag of old bones, so it doesn't matter if I die. As long as you're alive, our West Sea Dragon clan will have hope. Ao Taishu roared at the two experts of the West Sea Dragon clan inside the light shield. Let's go. Clan elder, we will definitely avenge you. The two experts from the Dragon clan from the West Sea joined forces to bring out a Dao artifact to collect the Ocean clan army into the Dao artifact. Next, they crushed a teleportation talisman in their hands. The two experts of the West Sea Dragon clan disappeared. You can go on your way. Jiyu Fei finally got serious. He struck out with the ultimate breaking fist, breaking the limit with one punch. His fist force instantly broke through his own limit, reaching a level that even he was afraid of. Bam! Catcher! Jiyu Fei's punch landed on the Eternal Battle puppet. A shattering sound immediately came from the Eternal Battle puppet. Cracks appeared on the Eternal Battle puppet's body one after another, just like a delicate porcelain cracking, as if it would fall apart at any moment. His martial body was a true eternal martial body. The power of the extreme breaking fist was so great that even the Marquis of the West Sea was speechless. How is this possible? Ao Taishu was also shocked to the extreme. This guy actually managed to crack the Eternal Battle puppet with just his physical body and Taoist body. How powerful was this punch? The great killing weapon left by the ancestor of the Dragon clan of the West Sea was about to be finished. Take another punch. Jiyu Fei did not hesitate and struck out with the ultimate breaking fist again. Breaking the limit with one punch was an eternal technique that could stimulate the user's full potential in an instant. Bam! The Eternal Battle puppet was punched again, and more cracks appeared on its body. The power fluctuations emanating from the Eternal Battle puppet began to weaken, and the internal Dao patterns were impacted. Ao Taishu really could not hold on any longer, and his divine will was about to dissipate completely. He used his essence, qi, and spirit as the price to activate the eternal great killing weapon. Whether or not he could kill Jiyu Fei and the Marquis of the West Sea, Ao Taishu would die. Ao Taishu still wanted to fight desperately. However, at this moment, the Marquis of the West Sea slashed down and directly split the cracked Eternal Battle puppet in half. At the same time, Ao Taishu's principal spirit attached to the Eternal Battle puppet was also destroyed. I'm finally going to die. Ao Taishu's divine will completely disappeared. This guy, Jiyu Fei and the Marquis of the West Sea could not help but admire him. Ao Taishu was worthy of their respect for dying in battle for his clansmen. They had defeated the West Sea Dragon clan's elder Ao Taishu, but all they got was an empty city. All the Sea Clan creatures in the West Sea Dragon City had fled. An empty city was not bad. Ha, after breaking through the West Sea Dragon City's defensive barrier, the Marquis of the West Sea couldn't help but laugh. Wasn't the West Sea Dragon clan very powerful? Wasn't it the overlord of the West Sea? So what now? Of course, most of the West Sea Dragon clan had already hidden in the West Sea Dragon clan's ancestral land. That was the guarantee that the West Sea Dragon clan could continue to exist. If the Marquis of the West Sea even attacked the West Sea Dragon clan's ancestral land one day, he would have completely defeated the West Sea Dragon clan. The West Sea Dragon clan's influence still existed, and sooner or later, they would come back again. But even so, Marquis of the West Sea was really not afraid of the West Sea Dragon clan. One had to know that the Marquis of the West Sea father and son were both eternal sovereigns. From now on, the West Sea would belong to the Marquis of the West Sea Wang family. However, what made the Marquis of the West Sea very unhappy was that the Eternal Divine Dynasty had taken advantage of the situation and occupied a lot of the West Sea Dragon clan's territory. Does the Eternal Divine Dynasty have a death wish? The Marquis of the West Sea flew into a rage. The Eternal Divine Dynasty used to be one of the three major factions of the Eternal World. However, after the fall of its founder, the Eternal Divine Dynasty quickly declined. However, just when everyone thought that the Eternal Divine Dynasty was done for, no one expected that the Eternal Divine Dynasty would latch onto the Martial Extreme Immortal sect. The Martial Extreme Immortal sect was a top ancient sect of the Eternal World that had existed for countless years. There were several Eternal Ones in the sect, and the entire sect was extremely powerful. Marquis of the West Sea didn't dare to go against the Martial Extreme Immortal sect, but what about the Eternal Divine Dynasty? If he didn't teach those fellows from the Eternal Divine Dynasty a lesson, they would think that he was a pushover. Then, the Marquis of the West Sea made his move. Marquis West Sea took back all the territory that the Eternal Divine Dynasty had occupied and drove them out of the West Sea. This infuriated the Eternal Divine Dynasty. The problem was that the Eternal Divine Dynasty did not have any Eternal Ones. However, they invited a patriarch of the Martial Extreme Immortal sect. The West Lord of the Eternal Divine Dynasty, Heng Tiandao, personally accompanied the patriarch of the Martial Extreme Immortal sect, Wang Hongmeng, to the West Sea. He specifically asked the Marquis of the West Sea to come to a small town on the West Sea to pay a visit to the patriarch. Stop King kidding me. We are all Eternal Ones. Do I need to pay a visit to you? The Marquis of the West Sea ignored the two idiots. What was so great about the Martial Extreme Immortal sect? Chapter 4771. At that very moment, West Spirit Island of the Western Sea had two eternal sovereigns. Even if it were to go up against the Martial Extreme Immortal sect, a peak-level sect from Eternal World, it would still have the confidence to not back down. The Martial Extreme Immortal sect was one of the top sects in Eternal World. It had eternal sovereigns and as many experts as there were clouds in the sky. Now that the Eternal God Dynasty had the support of the Wuji Celestial sect, even if the sky fell, the people of the Wuji Celestial Dynasty would be there to support them. However, this time, Marquis West Sea actually dared to ignore the ancestor of the Martial Extreme Immortal sect, an Eternal One. He actually didn't go to the small town on the west coast to pay his respects to this Eternal One. This infuriated the patriarch of the Martial Extreme Immortal sect, Wang Hongmeng. Since the Marquis of the West Sea doesn't know what's good for him, then we'll just have to fight our way to their door. Wang Hongmeng's eyes were filled with ferocity. Junior will go and prepare now. After saying that, Heng Tiandao retreated. It didn't take long for the Eternal Divine Dynasty's army to gather in the small town. Banners fluttered in the wind, and the town was bustling with activity. At this moment, Ji Yufei had returned to West Spirit Island and went into seclusion. Now that Ji Yufei had broken through to the half-step Eternal Realm, he needed to go into seclusion to consolidate his cultivation. Are those two bastards really going to fight? Marquis West Sea was immediately displeased when he received the news. At his command, the army of West Spirit Island assembled and set up a battle formation on the shore, awaiting the arrival of the Eternal Divine Dynasty's army. The renewed war shook the West Sea. This time, the Marquis of the West Sea actually dared to oppose the Eternal Godly Dynasty and the Martial Extreme Immortal sect. This was beyond everyone's expectations. In fact, Marquis West Sea had just taken over the territory of the West Sea Dragon clan. At the same time, he had also taken over a portion of the West Sea Dragon clan's army. At this moment, in the sea outside of West Spirit Island, a huge figure appeared. While Marquis West Sea was setting up his army on West Spirit Island, the Eternal Divine Dynasty's West King Hung Tiandao and the martial extreme immortal sect's patriarch Wang Hongmeng led an army of 300,000 toward West Spirit Island. Those two idiots. Marquis West Sea was monitoring every move of West King Heng Tiandao and martial extreme immortal sect's ancestor, Wang Hongmeng. When the Marquis of the West Sea found out that those two fellows had actually led an army to kill their way to West Spirit Island, he was immediately delighted. These two fellows didn't even know how to lead an army to fight a battle, yet they actually led an army to kill their way to West Spirit Island. Weren't they just sending themselves to their deaths? However, Marquis West Sea didn't want to fall out with the martial extreme celestial sect until the very last moment. However, if the other party really dared to make a move, then don't blame him for being ruthless. After Marquis West Sea predicted the Eternal Divine Dynasty's army's path of pursuit, he set up a pocket formation for Wang Hongmeng and his subordinates to enter. Marquis, are we really going to go against the martial extreme immortal sect? West Spirit Island, West Sea City, City Lord Residence, Old Monster Situ said to Marquis West Sea, who was sitting on a throne. The martial Zenith Immortal Sect was one of the strongest forces in Eternal World. The Immortal Sect had as many experts as the clouds in the sky. How could West Spirit Island be a match for the martial Zenith Immortal Sect? What are you afraid of? Do you think those eternal sovereigns of the martial extreme immortal sect are that free to take care of these trivial matters? Marquis West Sea said indifferently. Neither the Eternal Divine Dynasty nor the martial extreme immortal sect are stupid enough to fight us to the death. Celestial Sovereign Thunderpeak pondered. Old Thunderpeak is right. The martial extreme immortal sect has enough problems on their own now, Marquis West Sea said. He had received news that the martial extreme immortal sect and the eternal demon sect had clashed. Both sides were in a stalemate, and both sides had suffered casualties. Otherwise, Marquis West Sea wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant as to go against the martial extreme immortal sect. That was because he had already calculated that the martial extreme immortal sect wouldn't dare to go to war with him. That was why he had gone against the Eternal Divine Dynasty and Wang Hongmeng in such a high-profile manner. Marquis West Sea, get out here. Just then, an angry roar sounded from outside the island. The voice spread throughout West Spirit Island. Even Jiu Fei, who was in seclusion, heard it. You came pretty fast. Marquis West Sea smiled. Marquis, then we. Old Monster Situ and the others immediately tensed up. An aura that made their hearts palpitate suddenly enveloped the entire West Sea City. All the cultivators were trembling with fear. An eternal. Jiu Fei, who was in seclusion, couldn't help but frown when he sensed the aura. The people from the martial extreme immortal sect had come so quickly. They had come to denounce him so quickly. It was just an eternal. Jiu Fei couldn't be bothered to deal with him. A moment later, another eternal's aura appeared, clashing with the previous eternal's aura. The two eternal experts hadn't even met, but they were already fighting across the void. Let's go and meet the eternal patriarch of the martial extreme immortal sect. Marquis West Sea led Old Monster Situ and the other extreme Daos to the sea. When he arrived at the sea, he looked up and saw countless soldiers standing on the surface of the sea. Their banners fluttered in the wind, and their murderous aura shook heaven and earth. These were the battle-hardened soldiers of the Eternal Divine Dynasty, dispatched by the West King Heng Tiandao. Interesting. Marquis West Sea could tell at a glance that this army was different. They were battle-hardened soldiers who had walked out of mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Every soldier was surrounded by a powerful murderous aura. This was definitely not something that ordinary soldiers could compare to. I heard that the Eternal Divine Dynasty has a powerful army in the West Sea. Now that I've seen it, it really lives up to its reputation. Lightning Extreme Celestial was moved. Marquis West Sea, do you really think you're the overlord of the West Sea? At this moment, West King Heng Tiandao and the eternal patriarch of the martial extreme immortal sect, Wang Hongmeng, walked over. "What, can't I?" Marquis West Sea sneered. "Chen-ph, you want to dominate the West Sea? You're too greedy. Aren't you afraid of overeating?" The West King glared at Marquis West Sea and roared. "Ayo, I don't need you to worry about that. I say, you'd better go back to where you came from. Otherwise, it won't do anyone any good to fall out with me." Marquis West Sea was fearless. "As long as you bow down to me, I'll report to the Eternal Divine Dynasty and grant you the title of West Sea King. How about that?" The West King said to Marquis West Sea. It was rare to be granted the title of king in the Eternal Divine Dynasty, and it was even rarer to be granted the title of king with a different surname. Conferred the title of king? Marquis West Sea's eyes lit up when he heard that. Didn't that mean that he had tacitly agreed to be the overlord of the West Sea? He hesitated. There's a chance. The West King perked up when he saw that. In this way, Marquis West Sea would become the West Sea King, and the entire West Sea would belong to him. "What do you think?" the West King said to Marquis West Sea. "Why are you wasting time talking to this guy? Let's just fight." Wang Hongmeng said disapprovingly. In his opinion, the human army was invincible. If these guys were not convinced and dared to fight them, they would crush them. Chapter 4772. The martial extreme immortal sect was one of the most ancient sects in Eternal World, and had existed for countless years. The martial extreme immortal sect was inextricably linked to the Eternal Immortal sect, which had split off from the martial extreme immortal sect. The Eternal Immortal sect was now one of the most powerful sects in Eternal World, no weaker than the martial extreme immortal sect. In fact, it was on par with them. In truth, the reason the Eternal Immortal sect could stand up to the martial extreme immortal sect was because its founding patriarch was still alive. He alone was enough to intimidate all the experts in the world. Wang Hongmeng was one of the 3 patriarchs of the martial extreme immortal sect, second only to the sect master. He was truly second only to the patriarch, and held the life and death of countless living beings. As an eternal one, he naturally didn't care about Marquis West Sea at all. The Eternal Godly Dynasty's army was incredibly powerful, while the other side was just a bunch of stinky pirates. How could they possibly stand up to the elite troops of the Eternal Godly Dynasty? Who was Wang Hongmeng? He was an antique who had lived for countless years. One look at the West King's army was enough to tell that it was an army that had been through hundreds of battles. In Wang Hongmeng's opinion, using this army to kill the pirates on West Spirit Island was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. This Senior Wang, the West King, had dealt with Marquis West Sea for many years, so he naturally knew how powerful he was. If this guy could be killed so easily, he would have conquered West Spirit Island long ago. Marquis West Sea Wangzhan was very cunning, and an eternal one at that. If it weren't for the fact that the Eternal Godly Dynasty had latched onto the martial extreme immortal sect, Marquis West Sea would have led the West Sea pirates to attack them. Ever since the death of the Eternal Godly Dynasty's patriarch, the Eternal Godly Dynasty had become a juicy piece of meat in the eyes of all the factions. However, as soon as the martial extreme immortal sect took the lead, all the factions that had been eyeing the Eternal Godly Dynasty immediately gave up. Even Marquis West Sea didn't dare to act presumptuously. "I'll just stay in the West Sea. I don't care how you fight on the continent, but you shouldn't have taken advantage of my battle with the West Sea Dragon Clan to snatch my territory. That's my territory. If you dare to touch my cheese, I'll fight you to the death." Marquis West Sea was no gentleman. He was the leader of the pirates of the West Sea, so he had rebelled. However, he seemed to rebel against the Eternal Divine Dynasty as well. Now that the Eternal Divine Dynasty's army was bearing down on him, Marquis West Sea was not alarmed. Instead, he was elated. If he could defeat these guys, he would reap even more benefits. The situation in the Immortal Continent was very strange. The martial extreme celestial sect was at war with the Eternal Devil sect, so they had no time to care about the Eternal Godly Dynasty. However, they had sent an patriarch over. This was enough to prove the importance the Wuji Immortal sect attached to the Eternal Divine Dynasty. Wang Hongmeng wanted to start a fight with the Marquis of West Sea as soon as he arrived, which disrupted the West King's plan. Wang Zhon, you brat, come and die. Wang Hongmeng ignored the West King and shouted at the Marquis of West Sea. Who the hell do you think you are? Don't flaunt your seniority in front of me. Marquis Wang Zhon retorted. I am the patriarch of the martial extreme immortal sect, Wang Hongmeng. Wang Hongmeng said angrily. Oh, so you're from the same family. That makes things easier. Old brother Wang, you should just stay where you are. What are you doing here? Wang Zhon immediately put on a smile. Tui. I am the patriarch of the martial extreme immortal sect. How could I be from the same family as a pirate? Hearing that, Wang Hongmeng was immediately infuriated. The Wang family was a super cultivation family in the eternal world. The members of the Wang family were all from the righteous sects. None of them would stoop so low as to become pirates and disgrace their ancestors. You can't say that. Who knows, we might really have been from the same family 50,000 years ago. If you think 50,000 years is too short, then 500,000. We all share the same surname, Wang. You have the nerve to bully your juniors. Wang Zhon laughed. It was a very happy laugh. In fact, there were quite a number of people with the surname Wang in the eternal world. However, not everyone with the surname Wang came from the eternal Wang family. You brat, don't you dare try to recognize your relatives here. You're dead meat today. Wang Hongmeng was nearly driven mad by this fellow. However, when Wang Zhon saw the furious look on Wang Hongmeng's face, he could no longer hold himself back and laughed loudly. Senior Wang, please calm down. Don't fall for that fellow's provocation, Shuang Hengtiandao hastily said. If he provokes me, he will die a worse death. Wang Hongmeng roared and charged into the sky, charging towards the Marquis of the West Sea, Wang Zhon, who was hovering above West Spirit Island. Ouch, I'm going to run first. Lord Marquis, be careful. When old Freak Situ and the other three saw Wang Hongmeng charging towards them, they immediately fled. You bunch of disloyal fellows. The Marquis of the West Sea scolded. Lord Marquis, I hope you can understand. We don't want to die. Old Freak Situ cried out in a strange manner. He had long since disappeared. The others were not slow either. All of them fled without a trace. What a joke. Wang Hongmeng was a veteran eternal cultivator while they were just extreme Daos. That old man Wang could slap them to death like mosquitoes. Kill. Wang Hongmeng stretched out his hand and grabbed towards the Marquis of the West Sea, Wang Zhon. Boundless spiritual chi of heaven and earth was instantly drawn, and a huge hand appeared between heaven and earth, covering the entire sky. The huge hand covered the sky and directly enveloped Wang Zhon. Buzz. In the next moment, a dazzling sword radiance rushed out of Wang Zhon's body. This sword radiance was extremely sharp, and the sword chi rippled for hundreds of thousands of miles. Like a divine rainbow, it directly pierced through the huge hand descending from the sky. What? Wang Hongmeng was taken aback. He felt a pain in his right palm and hurriedly retracted his hand. When he looked down, he saw a drop of blood seeping out of his palm. This fellow was actually an eternal cultivator of the sword Dao, and he was actually injured. Wang Hongmeng could not help but be moved. At this moment, the chilling sword chi spread out. Even people thousands of miles away could feel it. The swords of countless sword cultivators trembled as if they would fly away at any time. Countless sword cultivators were inexplicably shocked. Huh! Even Jiyu Fei, who was cultivating in seclusion, opened his eyes. This fellow really hid it well. Jiyu Fei could not help but admire the Marquis of the West Sea. This fellow was indeed cunning and shrewd. He actually hid his most powerful sword Dao, and only suddenly showed Wang Hongmeng what he was capable of at this moment. Even Jiyu Fei could not see through Marquis West Sea's sword chi. Previously, everyone thought that Marquis West Sea was an expert who used a saber. Who would have thought that he was an expert of the sword Dao? As soon as the eternal sword chi appeared, even the West Sea Lord Heng Tiandao was stunned. The West Sea Lord used an eternal Dao weapon to protect himself and the 300,000 soldiers behind him. Otherwise, if the extreme Dao pressure erupted, the 300,000 elite soldiers of the eternal divine dynasty would all be dead. At this time, a layer of light appeared over West Spirit Island. This layer of light enveloped the entire island, blocking the Eternal Divine Dynasty's pressure. Chapter 4773. The army of the Eternal Divine Dynasty was bearing down on Marquis West King Heng Tiandao and Patriarch Wang Hongmeng of the martial extreme immortal sect. Wang Hongmeng relied on the fact that he had cultivated longer than the Marquis of West Sea. He was more qualified and more capable. He wanted the Marquis of West Sea to obediently submit to him. However, Marquis West Sea was the pirate leader of the West Sea. How could anyone want him to submit? Unless someone could completely defeat him. Therefore, a battle was inevitable. Wang Hongmeng attacked with a killing move, intending to kill Marquis West Sea with one strike. Who would have thought that Marquis West Sea's strongest Dao was the sword Dao? Unexpectedly, a beam of sword light shot up into the sky and pierced Wang Hongmeng's huge hand. Preposterous! Wang Hongmeng flew into a rage. The next moment, he struck out with the martial extreme divine fist of the martial extreme immortal track. Rumble! As soon as he struck out with his fist, the void around him began to tremble, and an extremely powerful wave of eternal power erupted from his body. Die! Marquis West Sea became one with his sword, transforming into a peerless beam of sword light that shot toward Wang Hongmeng. One punch to open heaven and earth. Wang Hongmeng roared furiously and punched the unparalleled sword light. A fist blast erupted, shaking the world. Even the space of eternal world, which was incomparably stable, began to ripple outwards, creating transparent ripples in the air. Everyone watching the battle was stunned by Wang Hongmeng's punch. When he punched out, it was as if the universe was about to be torn apart. The immortal beam of sword light that Marquis West Sea had transformed into was blown away by Wang Hongmeng's punch. Can't even withstand a single blow. Wang Hongmeng sneered. He wouldn't give Marquis West Sea a chance to breathe. He took a step forward and instantly caught up with the beam of sword light, then punched out again. It was the martial extreme divine fist again. The power of the martial extreme divine fist was extremely powerful. It was an eternal law, and the person who used it was an ancient existence who had reached the major completion of the eternal realm. Wang Hongmeng definitely had the right to be proud. Too strong. The beam of sword light that Marquis West Sea had transformed into was blown away again. This time, he could no longer maintain the state of being one with his sword. The beam of sword light dissipated, and a figure appeared in the void. Bam! In an instant, Wang Hongmeng's punch landed on Marquis West Sea's chest. The speed of this punch was so fast that even an eternal being like Marquis West Sea couldn't dodge it. More accurately, there was no time to dodge. The sound of bones breaking came from Marquis West Sea's body. Marquis West Sea's chest collapsed from this group of attacks, and his sternum was broken. His entire body was sent flying for hundreds of thousands of miles, directly falling into the endless sea. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Wang Hongmeng's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations. Little fella, I'm going to torture you to death. Wang Hongmeng chased after him. Roar. Marquis West Sea let out a furious roar, and the seawater within a radius of 10,000 miles instantly evaporated. Countless sea creatures were directly annihilated in body and soul. In the next moment, all the spiritual energy in the world was instantly sucked dry by him. His shattered sternum was rapidly healing. In just a snap of a finger, he had completely recovered, as if he had never been injured. When one's cultivation reached the eternal realm, their flesh, blood, tendons, and bones could be regenerated. Even if they were blasted apart by others, with only a drop of blood left, they could defy the heavens and be reborn, returning to their peak. Again, Marquis West Sea was enraged. So what if he was an old antique? He would do it anyway. Buzz! A sword cry shook the 9 heavens, and the stars in the sky trembled as if they would fall from the starry sky at any time. At this moment, everything around the Marquis of the West Sea erupted with the power of the eternal level of the Way of the Sword. Every drop of water, every speck of dust, and even every wisp of air seemed to turn into a peerless heavenly sword. They covered the sky and the earth, instantly drowning the charging Wang Hongmeng. Sword Dao Domain? Wang Hongmeng's voice came from the endless sword light. Martial, extreme, divine, fist. Wang Hongmeng uttered each word, and a monstrous fist force erupted. Within Marquis Westsea's sword Dao domain, a resplendent astral fist appeared. The astral fist was like a balloon, rapidly expanding. Everywhere the astral fist passed, the endless sword light collapsed, and an invincible fist intent erupted, shaking the heavens and the earth. It seemed like there was nothing in this world that could stop this eruption of power. The martial extreme divine fist was the sect guardian technique of the martial extreme immortal sect. It was said to be a divine ability that could break all laws with one punch. This martial extreme divine fist was definitely one of the most powerful and overbearing fist techniques in the eternal world. Once the divine fist was unleashed, it didn't care what domain or divine ability it was. Everything would collapse in one blow. Without any suspense, Marquis Westsea's eternal sword Dao domain was blown apart by the astral fist. Marquis Westsea coughed up blood again and was sent flying. The endless sword light disappeared into the void, and a figure walked out from the astral fist. He was extremely powerful. At this time, Marquis Westsea was covered in blood, and many parts of his body had burst open with horrifying cracks. It seemed like his whole body could collapse at any time. However, he took out a medicinal pill and swallowed it. The next moment, all the wounds on his body rapidly healed and disappeared. In just a few seconds, he was completely healed. Oh my, I didn't expect you to have something like the pill of reversing fortune. Wang Hongmeng, the patriarch of the martial extreme immortal sect, saw that after Marquis Westsea ate the pill, all the wounds on his body had healed. Only a supreme divine healing pill like the pill of reversing fortune could have such a miraculous effect. Hehe, it seems like we can finally get rid of the Westsea today. West King Heng Tiandao, who had brought out an eternal Dao weapon to protect himself and the 300,000 soldiers of the eternal godly dynasty behind him, was surprised and delighted to see this. The patriarch of the martial extreme immortal sect was indeed invincible. Haha. Let's see how many pill of reversing fortune you have on you. Wang Hongmeng laughed and charged forward again. You think I'm afraid of you? Marquis Westsea's fighting spirit was raging. He knew that he was no match for Wang Hongmeng, but he still charged forward. Naturally, he was abused again. At this time, the countless experts of the West Sea who were watching the battle from behind the shield of West Spirit Island felt that disaster was imminent. Marquis Westsea was no match for the patriarch of the martial extreme immortal sect. Marquis Westsea's father, Wang Xian, was still in seclusion and would not come out easily. Ji Yufei was also in seclusion, and there seemed to be no signs of him making a move. In fact, Ji Yufei wanted to make a move, but he could not even protect himself now. In the place where he was in seclusion, he suddenly felt a chill on the back of his neck. An icy little hand had touched the back of his neck without warning, and then moved towards his back. Little brother, it's so lonely to be in seclusion alone. How about big sister keep you company? A voice full of enchantment and temptation drilled into Ji Yufei's ears. Chapter 4774. Someone had snuck into Ji Yufei's seclusion grounds, but Ji Yufei hadn't noticed it at all. He was so scared that he almost fainted. Before he went into seclusion, he had set up layers of formations around his seclusion ground. This woman was actually able to pass through his formations without a sound, and even came behind him. He only knew of her existence when she touched the back of his neck with her small hand. Who are you? Ji Yufei felt his throat go dry, and his body stiffened. He didn't feel good at all. Who am I? Ha ha. The mysterious woman's small hand was on Ji Yufei's throat. As long as she exerted a bit of force, she could break Ji Yufei's neck. What are you trying to do? Ji Yufei calmed down. He was a man who had seen many things, after all. He had killed his way out of the human world, and was invincible in the myriad worlds. He had even entered the eternal world in the end. His Dao heart was extremely firm. Since the other party didn't kill him immediately, she must have a plan. With her cultivation, it wouldn't be difficult for her to kill him. Nothing. I just saw that you were bored in seclusion, so I came to accompany you. Don't think too much about it. The woman's voice was extremely charming, and the demonic nature in her voice was very strong. It was as if every sound she made could steal away one's soul. She was definitely someone from the demonic path, and her cultivation was terrifying to the extreme. Let's not beat around the bush, Ji Yufei said indifferently. Hihi, aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? The woman behind Ji Yufei tightened her hand on his throat. His Adam's apple was almost crushed, and a drop of cold sweat flowed down from his forehead. Of course I am. I'm scared to death. You don't look like you're afraid. Why don't I just kill you? You've killed many people from the Eternal Devil sect, right? What? Ji Yufei was taken aback. What did he mean by that? He hadn't killed many people from the Eternal Devil sect since he came to the Eternal World. Your name is Ji Yufei, and you came from the lower realm, right? This time, Ji Yufei was so scared that he almost jumped up from the ground and almost peed his pants. How could this be? How could she know his origins? Impossible. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? The mysterious demoness leaned against Ji Yufei and said. He could even feel the warmth from her body. However, Ji Yufei was not in the mood to enjoy this warm and fragrant feeling. He was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. All right, I'll stop teasing you. The mysterious demoness let go of Ji Yufei's throat and stood up. At this time, Ji Yufei's entire body relaxed, and his tense nerves also relaxed. At this time, he was really sure that the other party did not have any killing intent towards him. What do you want? Ji Yufei looked at the woman who had turned around to face him. The woman was dressed in black with white flowers. She had a graceful figure and her face was covered. However, her pair of eyes seemed capable of seducing souls. One glance was all it took for Ji Yufei to feel as though his mind was nearly sucked in. So powerful. Ji Yufei was secretly shocked. I've been really bored recently. That Wu Jitian fellow has been holed up in his sect, refusing to come out. I can't even find him to fight. How about this? Let's join forces and kill off that kid from the martial extreme immortal sect outside. The masked demoness rubbed her chin and said solemnly. What did you say? Ji Yufei had just gotten up from the ground. When he heard the words of the masked demoness, he became dumbfounded. Wu Jitian? That kid outside? The masked demoness words were simply unimaginable. Wu Jitian was the sect master of the martial extreme immortal sect, one of the strongest existences in the Eternal World. Additionally, the martial extreme immortal sect was also one of the strongest and oldest sects in the Eternal World. The kid outside that the masked demoness mentioned was one of the 3 patriarchs of the martial extreme immortal sect. He was a ruthless character who stood above billions and billions of others. Wang Hongmeng might not be as strong as the super antique that Ji Yufei had encountered outside the Hidden Dragon mountain range, the freakish Wu Tianheng. However, he was probably not that far off. And yet, such a powerful character had become the kid that the masked demoness had mentioned. Could she be the sect master of the Eternal Demon sect? However, not even the sect master of the Eternal Demon sect would be so arrogant as to call Wang Hongmeng a kid. Could she be like Wu Tianheng, a super antique who had already reached the Tao since ancient times? Ji Yufei was left in a state of shock. What are you thinking about? How about it? What do you think of my suggestion? The masked demoness said. Kill off that fellow outside. What will I get out of it? Ji Yufei asked, raising his head. Get out of it. What do you want? The masked demoness frowned. Let me see your true face. Ji Yufei suddenly laughed. Hihi, kid, are you sure you want to see my face? The masked demoness laughed as well. Ji Yufei couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine when he saw the masked demoness looking at him maliciously. Can't I? Ji Yufei asked subconsciously. It's not that I can't, but there's a small problem. The masked demoness looked at Ji Yufei with a crafty look in her eyes. What problem? That's right. Only my husband can see my face. Ji Yufei was dumbfounded again. What, do you still want to see it? This, Ji Yufei hesitated. What do you mean by this and that? Aren't you curious about what I look like? Am I pretty? Of course I am. I'm dying of curiosity. But, Do I have to marry you after seeing your face? That depends on my mood. If I'm in a good mood, I can marry you. What if you're in a bad mood? Ji Yufei asked softly. Then I'll kill you. The masked demoness said nonchalantly. Then I won't look. Ji Yufei said firmly. TSK, timid as a mouse. Are you scared now? The masked demoness looked at Ji Yufei with disdain. Yes, please forgive me for being scared. Ji Yufei said solemnly. Why don't I help you remove the seal on your body? The masked demoness suddenly said to Ji Yufei. You even know that I've been placed with a seal? Ji Yufei stared at the masked demoness with widened eyes. TSK, what's wrong with that? I can tell at a glance. The masked demoness said disapprovingly. No one knew better than Ji Yufei how powerful and terrifying the mysterious woman of Mount Fulong was. The mysterious demoness could tell at a glance that she had placed a seal on him. Could it be that this demoness cultivation was higher than the mysterious woman of Mount Fulong? What realm was that? An existence that surpassed eternity. What kind of realm was beyond eternity? Why? You're not willing? Forget it then. Don't, I'm willing, I'm too willing. Come, make your move. If you can help me remove the restrictive spell on my body, not to mention killing that incomparably arrogant fellow outside, I'll even marry you.